Hello and welcome to Three Dead Babies Podcast. I'm sitting here with Vampire Jesus and your lovely co-host. Three Dead Babies is filmed in a dead studio audience, plus one asshole off camera.
Fuck you.
There you go. All right, so kick us off. What are we talking about today?
Okay, so today we're going to run through a series of topics. There's some stuff that's just popped up in the news today that we're going to look at real quick beforehand. But we're going to be covering the LGBTQ. We're going to be covering marijuana. And we're also going to be covering, what was that other topic?
I don't know.
You don't remember? I don't fucking remember either.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out as we go, right?
Let's just power through it.
All right, let's power through it. Okay, so recently, today, in the news, two major things happened. One, RFK.
C-11 passing. That was the
C-11 passing. That's the other one we're going to talk about. So, in the news today, RFK officially announcing he's running for president. That's massive. It's the first time we have any sort of opposing candidate. You can tell that the current government really hates him, and they don't really have much to say about him other than he's an anti-vaxxer, quote unquote. Mainly, they only say that because he was asking for stricter regulation on the COVID vaccine. But some of his other points that he touches on that they refuse to bring up is returning to the gold standard and jobs in America, immigration, and I forget what the other one was. But anyway, he touches on a bunch of these major...
The gold standard.
The gold standard is the big one. And
for people that might not understand what the gold standard is, do you want to explain it?
So the gold standard... So the way the American dollar works right now does not work off of gold or mineral, unlike most currency in the world. It's what it was founded on, the value of gold and other minerals, but it mainly focused on gold. I forget exactly when it was, but in the mid 20th century, the Americans scrapped that and they just went with the value of their GDP, I think it was. I could be wrong on that. In any case, it doesn't really matter. When they got rid of the gold standard, they basically made their money worthless.
Yeah.
So RFK wants to go back to that, which is fantastic.
Go ahead.
Okay. So he wants to go back to that. And if you actually look today, he's currently, I think, in second place.
I'm listening,
but I
lost my water.
You lost your water? Oh, no.
And these nuts are making me thirsty.
Studio audience, can we please find him water?
Water, assistant. Oh, I found it. It's right here. Okay.
Salty nuts really don't sit well
salty
with
nuts
him.
were really fucking up the podcast.
Yeah.
Let's carry.
Okay.
Short. Sorry for throwing.
I don't know. I was talking about the gold standard.
Standard.
He wants to go back to the gold standard.
That's a very big deal.
It's a very big deal. It's very important. Your money will actually be worth something if they go back to it.
If you're American.
Unfortunately, if they go back to it and they find a looking fork knots and realize that there's nothing in there, well, you're going to be unbelievably poor until they fix that.
Yeah.
So.
Until they fix it.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was talking about, the polls. So he nominated himself today, and he's at 19% in terms of support.
In one
afternoon. Day. In one afternoon, 19% support. That's how much the American people love this guy. Now,
well, I think they want a real leader.
They want a real leader,
yes. They don't want an orange bigot.
Yeah.
They don't want a war-hungry woman.
Yeah.
And they don't want a charismatic, charming Obama.
Yeah. Well, Obama can't run anymore. But
yeah, I know. But, like, they want somebody, whole point is...
They want someone that's actually addressing the issues that exist instead of made-up issues that they make hot topics, right?
Yeah. So if we had a vote, it'd be for the Kennedys.
Oh, please do. If you're going to vote, if you're American, you're going to vote for Kennedy. He actually has good intentions towards you.
How old is he?
How old? He's not that old, actually. I think he's in his late 50s.
Oh, so...
He's relatively young comparatively to other leaders like
Biden, who's seen dinosaurs in real life.
I'm pretty sure Biden is just being kept alive through witchcraft.
At this point, anything's possible.
Yeah. But okay, so that was that little quick thing there.
Yeah.
The other major thing, there was that drone strike on the Kremlin.
Yeah.
People are calling it a attempted assassination on Putin. That's kind of ridiculous if you actually look at the footage. Yeah. It's obviously not an assassination attempt because at best what they fired was some sort of incendiary bomb, and it looked like it was aimed at the flag.
Well, and it's their like political building for their office to meet, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So if it's anything like our parliament buildings, there's no one there ever
Yeah,
anyway.
it's mainly a show of force type deal.
Yeah. You're not gonna laugh at my joke?
What? Oh, there's no.
That's better. Okay, carry on.
Right. It's mainly a show of force by I would call it Ukraine, but really it's Western forces, and yeah. Now I've heard people say that it looks more like it might be like a false flag type deal that the Russians did to themselves, but it doesn't really add up. It doesn't really make sense. So I'm going with it was just like a show of force by the West to be like, hey, if we want to, we can bomb the Kremlin.
Yeah, we can hit you at home.
Yeah, we can hit you at home. So
There's nothing more devastating than
Yeah.
that to the ego.
yeah, so I think, and from some of the stuff I've read, it seems like the Russians are they're still gonna continue their offensive, but they're probably gonna try and end the war through some sort of terms and negotiations, a ceasefire of some kind. I'm pretty sure Putin will push hard, but once Western troops are on the border, he'll probably put up some terms for a ceasefire, because at this point there's no winning for the Russians because of what's going on in Sudan. So their main force, the Wagner Company, is completely split and has no oil, has no money, has no nothing to keep going, and the bulk of the Russian army is made up of conscripts, which are people that don't even want to fight or know how to fight.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and experience plays a pretty big
role. Experience plays a huge role
outside of Call of Duty and Battlefront.
Like the thing is, war today isn't exactly like it was even 30 years ago. Yeah. Or especially if we're talking the 1940s, the Soviet Union.
That was more than 30 years ago.
Oh no, but I meant like
okay.
Even further than that. The conscript method of just overwhelming your enemy with endless amounts of soldiers being thrown at them doesn't really work anymore when your enemy is like drone striking them and blowing up like, I don't know, 150 dudes in one shot. And that's all the Russians have really right now to keep going. So that war in Ukraine is probably coming to an end in the next 100 days or so.
Yeah. And then it'll be interesting to watch. I think everyone should be paying attention to like the steps after the war in Ukraine are going to be just important as the war in Ukraine. Watch who gets in there, watch how they rebuild, watch what they say.
Yeah.
Because I think it'll be really informative to
who really won that war.
Yeah, who was really taking part in it, who was really funding it, who's going to make money from it. This will be a huge opportunity for people to make money, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. War is one of the best ways to make money if you're a country.
Depending on what side you're on.
Depending on what side you're on. Looking at you, Germany, still paying that one off.
Yeah. Well, you can't win them all. They make great cars. The food's delicious. Yeah.
All right. That was that for the brand new news. So let's...
one other quick new news thing. Sure. I have one.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the robots being released into New York? The robo-dogs that will be armed and the subway...
Is that like, are they out now? Is that confirmed?
Yeah, they're rolling them out. Yeah.
They're rolling them out. So
I think they already have like pilot projects in place.
Do those robots have people with them? Or are they just like autonomous?
I think they're trying to move to full autonomy.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the subway robots for sure are autonomous.
Okay.
They look like kind of egg-shaped R2-D2s.
Yeah.
And then the...
what are they armed with?
Some kind of small caliber firearm. I'm not sure if those ones are armed, but the dogs definitely will be.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That's fucking cool. That's some Metal Gear Solid shit right there.
And they have cameras to identify your faces, and they can take all your information down, and they'll be acting as like
police.
Okay.
Well, in a city like New York where crime is unbelievably high, and the police force is not that many, actually. I think they only have like 100,000 cops, something like that, for all of, which is not that many, honestly. Mm-hmm. There has to be other ways to do it. If you actually look at how bad crime is in New York City, especially in places like the subways or in the more ghetto-y areas, Like, they need something. It's not even for a police officer armed to the teeth in full riot gear or whatever.
Yeah.
It's still not safe for them.
Absolutely not.
So,
So
like-
are you saying you are pro robot police?
I am pro solution to the lack of police and the high crime in New York. If the only thing we have right now is Robo Dog with a gun, then like Robo Dog with a gun it is. But it has to like I have nothing against it as long as like it's protocol.
Well, and
is-
that's kind of, and we talk about this stuff a lot. Like the police are saying it's going to be 100% transparent and everything is going to be, public access and democracy is going to rule this process. And we know that's typically not the case on how things go.
I know.
And one of the big hangups that I have with it, especially with like traditional policing, is a human being can understand this person's like me. This person's going through something. This person's got stuff going on. I can defuse the situation. There can be a connection more easily developed through human interaction and negotiation, as opposed to Alexa telling you to put the gun down or stop running. Or,
Yeah,
You know.
I understand that a person there can determine something, but again, I know nothing about this subject. This is the first time I'm even hearing about it. I knew that robo dogs and that kind of stuff was a thing that they were working on with AI and that kind of shit, but I didn't even know it was being rolled out. So I have no idea what their protocol is or anything like that. I have no idea what the testing they've done with it. I'm assuming they're doing some kind of testing with it.
Yeah.
But in this case, in New York, I feel like there has to be someone monitoring those fucking robots.
Oh, I'm sure there's going to be some growing pains.
Yeah.
But like everything else, if they want to do something, they can push it through.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
then again, coupling that with the bills that have come out for censorship,
Yeah.
again leads to me to be like erring on the side of caution with like, I love robots. Robots are cool. Should they be policing us with guns? I don't think so. Even if that's 2, 4, or 5 years away, it's still.
Well, again, it all depends on the protocol on them, right?
Yeah.
Because in some situation, the robot might actually might be better at making the call than the police officer.
Also true.
'Cause,
And
like-
a robot can. It's not a human life, right? So
Yeah.
like police are
But-
in that situation. Part of that being in a tough job like that all the time is that you're trying to also protect yourself. And like that's a plus to having a robotic force where
It has no.
it has no value for its own life.
Yeah.
As long as we can maintain that it has some perspective of,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of non-lethal options, so maybe it'll be something more along the lines of those.
If you arm it with a non-lethal,
Yeah.
not less than lethal, non-lethal
Yeah.
way of neutralizing someone,
Yeah.
then I'm even more for it.
Absolutely.
The
And I
fact
think
that
that would
if you're
sway
giving
me too.
it, yeah, if you're
You
giving
could put a
it,
Gatling gun on it with rubber bullets, and I think that would be awesome.
no, you can die from those.
Beanbags? You can die from anything.
You can die from anything,
Yeah.
yeah, but like, if you're arming it with a 9mm, then like,
Yeah.
then you're in some really
Just don't shoot anything metal.
Yeah.
Is basically.
But the good thing about the robot is it won't miss.
Well, you would hope not.
Well, you program it to not miss.
Yeah.
Like, forgot like
Yeah.
get it together if you because that's one of the major thing with the police forces is sometimes when they're in a gunfight,
Oh yeah.
they're just spraying bullets everywhere.
Yeah. Lulu Bell is having a fit right now.
She is.
She's not for policing with robots. Okay, well, I think that's like our topical news stuff.
Okay.
So, what do you want to break into? C-11 pass.
C-11 pass. Okay. So, Bill C-11, which is a censorship bill for Canada, has passed. It's passed the Senate or whatever the fuck it's called.
Very professional. of
I don't know what it's called. I don't
Yeah.
care.
you. Yeah.
It passed that, so I'll run through Bill C-11 super quick. Bill C-11 is a censorship bill for Canada. This is what the government says it does, is it encourages Canadian content creators and Canadian TV shows and Canadian news and all that kind of stuff, while also preventing propaganda from other countries coming in. It creates a firewall around our internet
Yeah.
prevents a firewall that prevents outside content from coming in. Very similar to what China has.
What a surprise.
I know.
Looking at you, Justin.
I know, seriously. So that's what they say it does. Now, where it gets scary is that means the Canadian government can determine what you watch on the internet, because this is strictly to affect streaming services. They consider YouTube a streaming service. They consider things like GitHub a streaming service, Twitch, whatever. Anything that you're watching videos on is considered a streaming service. So they can censor whatever you watch on there. Now, they're still going to use it to push Canadian content. We'll see. And here's the thing.
None of them have watched this channel.
Yeah, no, I know, right? And here's the thing is, the government gets to decide what's Canadian content. Just because you're in Canada making content doesn't make it Canadian content. So they can choose what they push, and they can choose what they censor.
Yeah.
So really, the government, and here's the thing with the news. Outside journalism, outside of the country, talking about things around the world, the government can decide you don't get to see that, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, here, like the Ukrainian war, the fact that Zelensky, well, not necessarily Zelensky, but the Ukraine itself was a very corrupt country before the war.
Yeah.
The Canadian government might be able to just censor any mention of that, so we would never know.
Along with the Dutch farmer problem.
Dutch farmers.
The Paris riots. Sudan.
Yeah. I want to touch on the Dutch farmers because of something recent that happened after.
Yeah.
So that's what the Bill C-11 is going to do. It's going to stop you from being able to see things from the outside.
Yeah. Well, and also they can censor things from the inside.
Yes, they can censor things from the inside. They can just decide.
And throw away content that's created in Canada, even if it's uniquely Canadian to your experience or your location.
Yeah.
If it's, opposing, or they feel like they want to deem it as misinformation, they can strip it away, even if you have a basis and factual evidence that and even if it's just your opinion in the environment you grew up in, and they want to talk about something from their perspective, they can still say no.
Yeah.
Which isn't, them having that ability isn't fair, and it's not a good thing that it passed.
Yeah. It's not free speech, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So.
Which is something, again, and I think, free speech can have a bit of a sharp edge to it when you think about people that have conflicting opinions, or maybe.
But that's the point.
Oh, that's what I'm getting to.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people could be the subject of maybe verbal abuse or something they deemed as hate speech. But stripping all opinions away and having somebody monitor it and be able to remove it is much worse than, having to deal with those tough situations of someone maybe going a little bit too far in one direction. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. And I like to add, though, that this stuff, in Canada, we have no laws against VPNs. So to avoid all this, you can just download a VPN.
Yeah.
And you'll be fine.
And if any VPNs want to sponsor our channel.
Looking at you, Nord.
Yeah, looking at you, Nord. We love Nord.
We love
t-shirts.
NordVPN. I don't care.
We're cheap as fuck. Use us, Nord. Send us t-shirts. We'll wear them. We won't say you sponsored us, but everyone will
sponsor you for a bag of chips.
Yeah. Love chips.
I love chips. You need Canadian chips too. Just so we're within Bill C-11.
Yeah.
Ketchup chips.
Oh, fuck off.
What's more Canadian than ketchup chips?
I don't like them.
You don't like ketchup chips?
Really? We're gonna go off track and have
shut the fuck up. What kind of chips do you like?
Doritos.
You're so disgusting.
What? They're delicious.
Disgusting.
What about Miss Vicky's? I like Miss Vicky's.
Miss Vicky's is good.
Yeah.
The
The
kettle chips with the
smoky barbecue.
smoky barbecue's okay. I like the salt and vinegar one because it really hurts me if I eat a lot of them really quick.
Just like the pain.
Yeah, I like it.
Well, now that we flew off that, you wanted to circle back to Dutch farmers.
Let me finish. We're not
done with C-11?
Let me finish C-11. Another thing about C-11 is the CRBC. Is it the CRBC? No. The Canadian Broadcasting Association.
Yeah.
Have not put the framework in for Bill C-11. So it has passed. It is law.
Yeah.
But they have no way of enforcing it, and they don't even know how to enforce it yet.
Yeah.
So all this information will and can and will change with the what's that word? Implementation. You can't even say it.
Implementation.
Implementation.
We got there.
Yeah, we got there together. That word.
Implementation.
Implementation of the framework for it. So we still probably have a year to 2 years before this actually becomes a thing we have to worry about.
Most government workers are super slow, so you're probably looking at 5.
Yeah. Oh,
before
definitely.
it's finished.
Honestly, we'll probably be dead. No, nuclear apocalypse before this even happens.
Or drone strike.
Drone strike or
Rural
what-
Quebec.
Oh yeah. So I wanted
Okay,
to circle
back to the Deutschland.
No, that's Germany.
Oh, whatever.
Deutschland. That's how German. Okay.
Starts with a D.
Ah!
I don't
It's
know.
the fucking Netherlands, my guy.
I don't own a globe. I
All
blame
right.
the school system.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I took geography. You guys had lots of time.
The Dutch farmers. So
Fucking Mrs. Parlin.
I'm too young. I don't even know what he's talking about anymore.
That was my geography teacher. She was an alcoholic.
Shout out Miss Parlin.
Shut up. She was an amazing
Yeah,
human being. Horrible teacher.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, she was awesome. I had a great time. I didn't learn anything.
No.
We had a potluck one time, and it was fantastic.
Oh, was it like food
Yeah.
from around the world?
Yeah, you had to make it from like your heritage, but I grew up in like the country, so it's all just white people food. Yeah, we're all from the same place. It was like, here's all the sausages. yeah,
You know, she's just sitting there, just like
yeah, just fucking
throwing
hammered.
beer balls.
Why do you smell like Fireball, Miss Parlin? Eat your meat. Oh, I'm in a Pink Floyd video. This is amazing.
Oh, fuck.
Oh,
So
anyway, okay.
the Dutch farmers actually had taken a few seats in Parliament, which was great news, but they weren't able to stop the passing of a law by the Dutch government where I'm going off memory here, so bear with me. They will be offering 120% of the value of their land
Yeah.
to buy from the farmers their farms.
Mm-hmm.
If they say no, they get to keep their land for like a year, but then the government will come and take it by force.
Really? I thought it was a buyout. Like you're being forced to accept this money and then
That's how
we're on fire today.
What?
We're on fire
We
today.
are. So their initial offer is 120% of what the government says their land value is.
Yeah.
If they say no, they get to keep it for a little bit, but then they're going to come and take it by force, and then they'll give you a small sum,
Smaller percentage.
a
Yeah.
smaller percentage of money. So really, they're taking your land.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well, and this goes back to the land grab. And they have 3,000 farmers on the chopping block already. I think the article said,
yeah,
which is crazy. That's a pile of farmers,
that's a lot of people.
and that's a lot of land.
Yeah,
Right? A lot of people don't seem to like think about how much
I would actually be curious to
property
see.
that these farmers have.
I'd be curious to see what the percentage of the country that is that they're taking by force.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. They're taking it by force. Mm-hmm. They can sugarcoat it as much as they want. They're forcefully taking it from them.
Fucking nerds. Oh, they're everywhere. Yeah.
And I want to add this again, that this is coming everywhere, what they're doing. Because this is a pilot program.
Coming everywhere. Phrasing.
Yeah, it's a pilot program being done in the Netherlands by the WEF, which, whatever country you're in, your leader of the country is part of the WEF.
We talk about a lot of things that people might not necessarily fully get behind or believe, and it's hard for them, right? Because there is so much censorship going on these days.
There's a lot of censorship, and there's a lot of history behind these things that explains it. If you just make a claim without
that's the direction I was going to take the conversation. For a viewer, what's the best way for them to start quantifying some of this information
So
and validating it as like, oh, this is actually true.
I've
Besides our two assholes talking about it.
So there's I've noticed that a lot of people are starting to realize that a lot of the things that conspiracy theorists, quote unquote, I'm putting it in quotations because it's no longer conspiracy theorists.
Yeah.
This is like actually happening. We're saying like 10 years ago is true.
Yeah.
And this happened during the COVID lockdowns because the government was telling you, if you don't get the COVID shot, you're going to fucking die. Right?
Absolutely.
And people were then forced to go out, get COVID shots. They got sicker. And then they've noticed that some people were getting sick from the shot itself.
Yeah.
A lot of people got COVID multiple times, didn't die. And so,
And a couple people died from the shot.
and not a couple, a lot of people died from the shot. What was it, 1.8 million?
No, that can't be right.
Oh, no, 1.8 million permanently injured in some way from it
Jesus.
in the U.S. But
That's fucking insane.
that is insane. I think that might be more than people that died from COVID. But that's besides the point. So people aren't dumb. This happened in the course of like 2-3 years. And yeah, most people have like a short-term memory when it comes to like world events. But this was like, they were forced to only see this for 3 years. So they saw it from start to end. And now are realizing, yo, what the fuck? You guys lied about everything.
Yeah.
So now it's making a lot of people go back and look at other things that happened in the past.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and there should be some accountability because there was a lot of celebrities, a lot of people in power. Like Arnold was stepping up and doing his, girly man, put your mask on.
Yeah.
And like, where's your accountability now, Arnold? Why don't you step up and be like, I was a dick and I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because you have a position of power and you're pushing people in these situations. And again, a lot of people were labeled anti-vaxxer just because they wanted more information. And we should be supporting that kind of curiosity.
Yeah.
What am I putting in my body? Why do I need to have this?
Yeah.
You talk to anybody that's in their 60s, 70s, 80s, they're full believers in vaccines. They've seen their friends be afflicted and affected by things like polio, like
fucking mumps.
the mumps. Like there's lots of diseases that came out, but when you start seeing how fast they're being released, how fast boosters are being released, mandates that you have to take them, laws protecting big pharma from being penalized or sued because of their product, those are things that make people say, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, I'm cool with, and that was my approach.
Yeah.
But again, like I was pressured, and you can't have a life if you don't do these things.
So I'm a very big believer in that most people are perfectly okay. That the government or the media is labeling anti-vaxxers are perfectly okay with vaccines. It's just like people, and that's another thing. People are a lot more educated now. No, I'm not insulting people in the past, people from like 50 years, 100 years. I'm not insulting them. It's just education, like basic education now is like college education, like fucking 100 years ago, right?
Yeah,
more or less, you get what I'm saying. So people understand scientific theory. Do you understand how microbes work, viruses work?
And the way we can access that information is much
the
easier.
information is also unbelievably quickly to be accessed, which is kind of funny that Bill C-11 pops up during COVID when all that's happening to limit access to information.
Absolutely, especially now where people are starting to ask for more and more accountability.
Yeah.
It'd be crazy if there was a class action lawsuit against the country for misinformation.
Well, there's a class action lawsuit against Pfizer.
Which is awesome.
Yeah. From that honeypot video?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. But like
why are we whispering? We can't talk about the honeypot video?
we can talk about the honeypot video.
It was intense.
It was fantastic.
Yeah. Well, that's something that's been going on. That's like the best tactic, and it's been around forever.
Yeah.
Wine and dine and be attractive.
Yeah.
And flirty.
And you can get whatever the fuck you want.
You can get whatever you want. Yeah.
And that dude was so happy to be like, yeah, we're manufacturing different versions of the disease and sending them out to make more money.
Yeah. We're controlling evolution or whatever the term is.
They called it controlled evolution because they can't say the other one because it implies that they're making viruses.
What's the other one?
I don't fucking know. Sounds fucking German to me, so I don't trust it.
Jesus Christ. Oh. All right. So are we done with C-11?
We can,
we got a little...
We're sidetracked on other stuff, but...
Tailspun on C-11. I think
I'm done with C-11.
C-11's bad. Censorship bills are bad. Sometimes people can be mean, but being able to not speak is not a great thing.
Yeah.
And not be able to voice your opinion and have conversations, it's bad.
Please talk to me about the LGBTQ.
You want to start with the trans stuff?
Yeah.
So when that all started to come to, more into the limelight.
See, we're very inclusive. These are rainbow nerds.
Yeah, rainbow. So we can say whatever we want. There's no prejudice.
None whatsoever.
So when that first started, I was understanding, and I'm still relatively understanding to the most part, but I've definitely not become cynical in my views, but I've decided to plant my feet. I think I have enough information to make like an informed opinion and have my own beliefs around it. So there's a few things. The pronouns I was always against, outside of our typical pronouns: he, him, and her, she.
I think there should be no pronouns whatsoever.
You know what? But they're done.
We just use people's names. If you don't know someone's
That's
name,
what I
too
said.
fucking bad.
That's what I said. And I said, if we have a difference of opinion or you have a ridiculous set of pronouns like clown, then I'm just going to call you your name and never talk to you again because you have a stupid fucking pronoun.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like with the his and hers, like those were fine. They, them, out the window. I know historically we used to refer to people, even singular people, as they, them. But again, going back to these arguments where they're just picking and choosing bits of information from history when it suits their needs.
Yeah.
And it's not unique to the this LGBTQ woke community. Like that's something that's kind of gone on with all of those ones, where they only want to focus on historical information when it's befitting to their argument, which drives me fucking nuts. So besides the pronouns, I was kind of okay with it. But now they're pushing into things like trans sports. And we have the lady swimmer. And stop and think about, like, this young woman worked hard. There are biological differences that are undisputable.
So okay. No, you can finish, but like
That's what she said.
Yeah. so like you can't argue that there are no biological differences between men and women, right?
Yeah.
It's not arguable. You can try to. If you are, you're using fake science. Yeah. So there are no
there are hyper-focused argument, which we see now,
which is
where they're basing things on like things like genetic defect or malnutrition. Like it's
just like it doesn't make sense.
It's not using the natural state of
in a general sense, men are faster, stronger, right? When it comes to physical stuff.
Yeah.
Right? But women are more like they're more flexible, they're more they have
we each have our own traits
each complement the other one, right? So that's why we divided sports, male sports, female sports, right?
Yeah.
So that it would be fair for everyone competing.
Yeah.
So like women would compete against women and men would compete against men.
Yeah.
Because
and for the record, women fought really hard to be in that space.
Yeah, that's true. They did.
You know, like to have their own sports and like so like speaking to the trans, why isn't it the same for the trans community? Have what we have now, and now you have your own thing. Because you are not, no matter how you want to look at it, ever going to be, nor have ever been, a biological man or woman if you're transitioning or fall into that category in whatever which way you decide. But have trans sports and show us all what co-ed sports with Frankenstein people running against each other, what that looks like. And my prediction for that is I guarantee you in 5 years, they will split it up to trans men and trans women because of money. Just like all the other bullshit. Or because they couldn't compete against them. However that equation goes, it starts to get confusing.
Even if you do trans sports, the ones that were originally female will not be able to compete against the ones that were originally male.
I think that community attracts a different kind of human, so it might be a little more level.
No.
No, you don't think so?
No, I don't. Because if you know how muscles are made in the body, you know that no matter what a woman does, and it's not, I don't mean it in an offensive thing. It's not a sexist thing. It's a biological thing. Yeah. No matter what a woman does, she could work out her entire life, but the way the muscles are formed in her body and the muscles are formed in the man's body, the man could never work out in his entire fucking life. And I'm not saying like he's like this like 300 fat motherfucker who just does nothing ever. I just mean like an average man and a woman that works out religiously. Yeah. The average man will be stronger than her.
On average.
On
I
average.
know that's going to upset a lot of people.
But that's what it is. Yeah. It has to do with how the muscle fibers are made in the body.
Yeah. Well, and the structure of your, like there's so
bone
much
structure and tendons and all that kind of shit.
Stuff. Yeah.
But at the end of the road, the man will be stronger than the woman simply because biological advantage.
Absolutely. Well, and there's lots of games, like there's certain sports that, you know, contact sports especially, when you start pushing in, and like we've seen that happening with women trying to integrate into predominantly male contact sports, it changes the rules of the game. Like that's another part of that. So no, you have your thing over here, we have our thing over here, and that's good.
Yeah.
And then like you guys want to do other stuff for like, they do like the speed tests and like the fun adventure shit that's like outside of the game. Go nuts. Because there are, like, that woman skater fucking crushed a bunch of records, and she kind of got a shitty deal.
Well, see that's something I was going to bring up. Like, you just made me think of. In the world of skateboarding, we don't divide by gender. As far as I'm aware, they don't divide by gender because it's more of an athletic thing where it's maneuverability and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Now, I almost believe that it should be divided because women almost have an advantage over men in that sport.
In skateboarding.
Yeah. Just because women first off, they're lighter.
Yeah.
They weigh less. And they're able to move their bodies a lot more effectively than a guy can. So they do have a genetic advantage against guys. Guys, the only thing they have in terms of advantage in skateboarding would be they're able to probably pick up speed faster because they're
heavier, but maybe even power too. Like however,
like their muscles.
So very cool. So everyone can skateboard.
Yeah.
But for the other stuff, just leave it the fuck alone.
Yeah. Also, I like to point out, I don't think there should be male roller derby. That shit's weird. I don't know. I think
male roller derby is fucking
No,
awesome.
Dude. Women roller derby is where it's at.
Well, it's better.
Yeah, it's better because they're so violent. It's great.
Yeah. Well, they got a lot of built up stuff.
I know.
Yeah. But anyway, so that poor swimmer worked her ass off. This guy transitioned, and again, intact, right? This guy's in their change room.
Wearing the girl outfit, and you can see his fucking poker, bro.
Yeah, well, and, like, they're in the change room, and his dick's out.
Yeah.
You know, and she even openly talked about it. Like, I don't want to, like, this is not a professional setting. This is not how we want it set up. This is not what I was, what I grew into and started competing in. Mm-hmm. Then she does a press conference, and people from the LGBTQ community attacked her because she wanted to express her own opinion. So, again, you're setting a double standard, which is another beef I have with not just this social group, but all of the groups that act like that. If you want people to be accepting of your perspective and your opinion and listen to you, then you have to do and give the same kind of guidance and grace to the opposition. You can't show up there and start hitting her. And those people might not be speaking on behalf of the entire community, but the community as a whole has to back up the person that was attacked and say, this doesn't reflect our behavior. Because if you don't do that and you let it be quiet, you guys look like garbage.
But that's another thing, though. When it comes to the community in terms of the LGBTQ, there's like a loud minority.
Yeah.
Right? And just like almost any community, it's
the
loud
and again, not specific to just them. Every group has loud minorities of extremists, and just for simplicity's sake, of a right and left.
Yeah. But like, and that's the thing, right? In the LGBTQ, in the transgender community and all that kind of stuff, there are those loud minorities that push. They're the ones that the media will report on. They're the ones whose voices are going to be heard, right?
Yeah.
Because they're the ones screaming from a fucking rooftop.
Yeah.
Now, the average, well, I don't know if it's the average, but I know some people who are transgender, and they fucking hate the LGBTQ.
Yeah.
Like, they hate them because it puts on this, like, the way the people see the loud minority creates an image.
Absolutely.
And that's not the image that person wants, because that person's not doing anything. Doesn't even believe most of the things this person's saying. Right?
Absolutely. But again, like, that accountability for all of those groups falls on the community, not anybody else. The community has to step up and be like, holy shit, no, this isn't us. Like, we're going to change the public perception right fucking now. This person should be in jail for assaulting someone that doesn't speak for our values, our beliefs, our agenda, and handle it that way. And that's the same for all of those, every single one that's come out in the last couple of years.
I got distracted by nerds. What?
The community is just as accountable for its activists as the activists are. So
the community is not the one who decides who the activists are.
Yeah, but
they just decide they're an activist.
Yeah, but then the community has to step up and say no. Fucking no. This is not how we want to be portrayed.
But then they get shamed.
Yeah,
but they get excluded.
But by a loud minority. Again, you have to step up. If that's what you believe in, you have to stand by it.
Yeah. No, I agree with what you're saying. I'm just saying that, like...
And again, like, that's collectively as a society for all these groups and all of our factions, we have to start working towards normalizing that kind of behavior as being able and comfortable with standing up to... And it's hard. I'm not understating or underselling the fact that it's hard to stand up to your community. It's hard to stand up to your peers. especially if it's something that you feel that's all you have and you don't want to be alienated by them. But the other side of that coin is you're not alienated by your community, but now your community is pushing a narrative, whether it's the majority or not, of something that's maybe not what you started this believing in.
Yeah. Well, I don't actually think if they stand up against the LGBTQ community and they don't believe what they're saying, I think it's more or less they're alienating themselves from their subculture, not necessarily their community, right? Because their community would be the people around them.
Yeah. Well, like their community
group
can be the people around them, and then people who you feel associated or part of.
Yeah.
But I think it was Dave Chappelle. Did you watch his stand-up when he tells the story? He had a friend.
Yes.
And ended up being bullied to the point where she committed suicide.
Yeah.
And again, no one was held accountable.
No, of course not.
And they're not isolated cases, and it doesn't ever take, especially with like media the way it's designed, right? You could have 10 stories, but they play 100 times a bunch of different ways, and that 10 turns into 1,000 very quickly.
Yeah.
And then you have people that are seeing this and this behavior, and they're believing that it's okay because they don't have the right support system or the right kind of education or understanding, and they jump on a bandwagon and they jump on a trend and a fad, and you get people.
I think this whole transgender stuff is just a fad. The people who were emo 10 years ago are now.
Yeah, the emos leveled up. That's all.
Yeah,
but
instead of cutting your wrist, you're cutting your dick.
Yeah, they just missed.
Yeah,
and that was the start of the whole movement.
Remember, kids, for all the classic emo kids out there, it's down the road, not across the street.
What a horrible lesson to be including. That's awful. But like another example is the Harry Potter lady did a whole bunch of work for women and gave away a pile of money, like to charitable causes and trying to build people up and give people better lives. And then because she was standing up for the lives and the rights of what a biological woman is and wanting to protect those, they labeled her as like an enemy of and like that's the language they're using. And I'll get to that in a second, but they labeled her as an enemy of the trans community. And she got shunned by a bunch of the people that she built up. And all of those people should feel a deep, deep level of shame right now. Because if she didn't do what she did, they would not be living this beautiful life that they have. And then, going back to the language part, like, if you see the language, are you an ally to the flag? Are you an ally?
It's purposely made to be, like, it is purposely,
but they're weaponizing language to cause conflict. And by using things like that, and it's come to the point where people have asked me that so many times, the answer is no. No, I'm not. I fucking can't stand you people. I can't stand your arguments. You're fucking ridiculous. Go away. Like, live your life. Do whatever you want. It shouldn't be legislation. No one should be just purposely bigoted and mean to you. But there's no way you should have anything written into fucking law. Human rights are human rights across the board. There's going to be things that need to be tweaked in certain areas. There are certain things in the Indian Act that are awful and need to be fixed. There's certain things that were affecting women that could be fixed. There's certain things that were affecting gay marriage, which I don't have a problem with, that can be fixed. But at the same time, those are small, isolated little issues that we can address as a whole and understand as a whole and work together to fix them. But when you're trying to push this narrative, and it's super hostile and it cancels the beliefs of other people, get the fuck out of here.
What's your opinion on gay adoption?
I think if they're of sound mind, go nuts.
Okay, so what's now? I want to prefix everything I'm going to say by saying I'm just poking his head. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm just poking in his mind.
Having a conversation.
So statistically, it's true that there's a very significantly high percentage of people in the LGBTQ community who are pedophiles.
Yeah.
So, statistically speaking, okay? Not making accusations. I'm just talking about the stats here.
Yeah.
So with that knowledge, how do you feel about gay adoption?
Well, as long as they're not pedophiles, then it's probably okay.
As long as they're not pedophiles.
Yeah.
How do you know if someone's a pedophile or not unless they get caught?
Well, again, like it's not labeled just that community. And there was an article that was
no, it's not just labeled to them.
Yeah.
But there's a significant amount.
Yeah. But again, like, I don't think a gay couple fits into the trans community. I don't even think...
I 100% agree with you. A traditional gay couple, which is kind of funny when you put traditional in front of it, but everyone knows what I mean when I say a traditional gay couple does not fit at all into the LGBTQ community.
Well, and also typically, like, they have... Even in that relationship, there's usually one that is more masculine and we'll say its energy or its presence than the other. Yeah. And there's one that's more feminine. And again, like, we've attached what, these gender roles and these traditional gender roles are. I think as long as you have someone that can be there or has the time and space to listen and nurture, and one that has the ability to provide, and they can be open-minded and have real conversations about the things that come up in life, go for it.
There are these two dudes I knew many moons ago. They were a gay couple.
Yeah.
Okay. And one of them was the most masculine man you would ever fucking encounter. Yeah. Like, he was like stoic, didn't talk much, like big buff strong motherfucker type deal, right? His partner was the most flamboyant gay dude you'll ever meet. Okay. Talked a high pitched voice, the whole shebang, wore a fucking cardigan, everything. Okay.
Cardigans aren't specific to the gay community. Cardigans are beautiful, and everyone should be able to wear them.
You're so fucking gay.
Do what I want.
Cardigan are strictly for women. I don't care what anyone says. Anyway. So he was
fashion tips, my vampire Jesus.
So the flamboyant one, right?
Yeah.
Most flamboyant guy you'll ever see, okay? But turns out that what I always found interesting was the flamboyant one was like this, when they would have sex, he was he was the dominant power top type dude, and the other guy was like a super submissive like bottom, which I always found super funny.
Yeah. I'm not saying this because they're gay, but just like that dynamic gives me the ick.
Why?
Just like that submissive man nature. I don't know. I just can't get behind it.
But it has nothing to do with it. You're not the one fucking them.
No, I know. It just gives me like just submissive men I think is gross.
That's something I've never understood, because like in any other aspect, he's not submissive at all. He's like very like he's
super in his frame and in his energy and fucking doing his stuff.
Yeah, but when he wants to fuck,
that's his thing. Yeah. Everyone has their thing. Like,
but like I never understood why some people get the ick from that kind of stuff.
Because I was born in the 80s, bro. I don't know.
Exactly. You were born in the 80s. Why the fuck are you like that? You should be all for it.
All for some submissive men?
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
We grew up in different places. Grew up with a project. Submissive men didn't make it. Yeah.
We didn't make it.
They're dead. Why did you fucking think I did?
I know what you meant. They didn't make it.
They didn't make it.
All right. Whatever. I
didn't fucking kill them.
I know you. Well, I always like to poke people's brains when they say that stuff. Like Fred, whenever he tells me he's grossed out by that shit too, and I'm just like, why though? You're not the one fucking him. Like, and he doesn't want to fuck you. Why are you grossed out? I think understand.
It's because like I have a very visual brain, so anything we have a conversation about, then it's just like
that's
my brain.
That's what Fred says too.
Yeah, it's our brains are creating the picture as we're talking.
Yeah,
and like regardless if I want to think about it or not, it's going to be there, and it's just like, oh, gross. And again, no disrespect to them. It's just how my brain works. And
fair enough. Fair enough.
Not into it.
How about Drag Queen Story Hour?
I think Drag Queen Story Hour is an abomination to humanity.
Brood. Okay,
Brood.
Brood.
You got so upset.
I got so mad.
All your words mashed together. That's what we're trying to avoid.
Drag Queen Story Hour makes no fucking sense, okay? So we're just like, yo, your kids aren't allowed to play fucking Grand Theft Auto until they're like 21 or some shit. Yeah. But when they're fucking 5, they can go have a dude fucking strip for them. Yeah. And like shake their fucking asshole in the kid's face. That's the
problem. And what? You're hyper-sexualizing kids, and that's not fair.
That's what they want.
And I had this argument with somebody else because we were talking about the trans community and this gender identity crisis. But if you take that away from kids so that they can focus on
be kids
and focus on learning life skills that are not based on race, not based on gender, not based on religion, life skills, Learning to read, using your imagination, spending time in nature, building meaningful relationships. Again, that aren't based. Kids are awesome because they don't have that basis. They don't rate someone most of the time unless you got like some fucking super high functioning autistic kid that has a preference, or maybe someone who's had a bad experience. But most of the time, kids go into meeting somebody with a clean slate and an open mind. I just want to get to know you. We like the same things. Let's build a friendship.
Yeah.
And it's not rated by all the stuff that we have to bring into. It's not rated by economic status. It's not rated by popularity.
Well, it's because the kids don't have a concept of any of those things.
Yeah, but it's awesome, and they have their innocence. So like this, and it's nothing against the drag queen community. Again, like I think it's important to add context. Like there's people that perform drag in my little town, and it's theater and self-expression, and it's almost has its own art form and this kind of dynamic entertainment. What they were doing and showing is super gross, and it's awful.
The ones to the kids.
The ones that show up in like the fishnet stockings and their asses out.
If
like
you're allowed to have drag queen story hour, you should be allowed to have stripper story hour. And you want to know something? You know Mia Khalifa, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's Mia Khalifa and what was that other one? Gray something. Sasha Grey.
Sasha Grey. Yeah.
Sasha Grey. The parents. Well, parents are doing the same thing with the cross-dresser stuff, but the drag queen stuff. But I remember when the news lost their fucking mind and were fucking asking for basically those people to be lynched, like Mia and Sasha Grey, when they found out that they were doing like children, like they did the story time. Sasha Grey did a story time thing for kids, and Sasha Grey had like a foundation to help children with books or something, and she was like meeting kids.
Yeah.
And this was like
humanizing porn stars, which is fine. They're human beings.
No, but like I'm just trying to point out the hypocrisy here. So
you want to talk about hypocrisy? How about kids getting kicked out of school because their mom or dad is on OnlyFans? But you can bring these people in, and they're in high school, but you can bring these people in to do what they did in front of little kids that are learning how to read.
That's literally insane. What the porn stars were doing.
Yeah,
but they're not dressed up like they're just normal
clothes, which again like makes a huge difference. It's what you did and how you presented yourself.
Yeah,
right. Like we know that dancing like that is provocative, and people will argue it's just dancing. Not like that. And I think we can all agree that there are some lines there when you're doing the splits and your ass is out. That moving kind of past, graceful movement.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that story made me mad, like in my soul.
Like when they kicked out the student?
No. Well, that too. I think that's fucking nonsense. But the fact that, and then it was just normalized and people were defending it, like that. I had to watch like Faith in Humanity rebuilding videos for like 3 weeks.
Don't do that. Don't do that. You gotta leave the hate in you.
No, it's no good.
Trust me. Eventually, you can use Kai blasts.
that's not how that fucking works at all. Nice Dragon Ball Z reference.
I know, right?
Yeah. But yeah, that, and like that's again, and it's not specific to drag queens. Anybody from any community and again, that's the problem part. If they were outside of that, doing that, and like you can't tell me that all of the parents decided that was acceptable behavior.
No, the parents are protesting it.
Yeah, that's insane, and you can't undo that shit. Like you can't take that away. They've experienced that now.
The kids? Oh yeah, they're traumatized.
Yeah. Well, and again, a lot of this goes back to like your childhood programming.
Yeah.
So what environment you're raised in. And again, like having a same-sex couple raise a kid isn't a bad thing if they can be willing to accept that he or she get to be are encouraged to follow whatever path in life they want to take.
That's another thing. A lot of times now, mothers and stuff will diagnose their kids with fucking whatever the fuck, like autism and like they'll say their child is gay, their child's like 3 years old or some shit.
Yeah.
They'll say that their kid is transgender or whatever. And it's because these parents themselves have mental fucking problems. And it's true. Like they actually suffer. Like there was a stat I saw recently where it was like something like 80% of children who are diagnosed with like being transgender or whatever before the age of 10 have mothers who have things like autism or bipolar disorder or whatever the fuck.
Yeah. And like that again, like
it's because the fucking kid's an accessory to the mom. Like, she didn't have a child because she wanted a child. She had a child because she was like, oh, I'm gonna look good with a kid.
Yeah, and they, again, not specific to that community, but I think and we've heard stories way before all this stuff came out where people would have 5 or 6 kids so that they could collect on the child tax benefit.
Oh yeah.
And they, like you said, they weren't there to be nurtured and cared for and educated to better humanity. They were a prop in somebody's life, which is unfair to the child.
It's messed up. And here's the thing. I know people who grew up in families like that where they were a prop. Those kids are pretty fucked up. I also know people who are in their teens who decided I should have a kid because it'd be a good fucking accessory. And they're still fucked up, and that kid's going to be fucked up.
Well, and I think a lot of it, especially for young people, is in our day and age, is that purpose has been super stripped away in a lot of cases. So a lot of us are bored, so we're just fucking like crazy.
Yeah, they have nothing.
No personality. There's nothing to do. So you're just fucking, and then you are forced to have a kid or choose to have a kid, and a lot of them are leaning towards believing that it gives them purpose. You know, like, this is my purpose in life. But that fades when they realize the responsibility that goes into having a child.
Some of the ones, they say that, like, oh yeah, if I have a kid, my depression will go away.
Yeah, and that's insane. Yeah.
Fucking idiot.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that at all. Yeah, what are some of the other, like, one of the other problems with the trans community that I have is that it's a door that can never be closed now, especially when you start putting things into law.
Oh, when you mean like some people come. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Well, like, so, and it's not to say that, you know, I'm sure a small percentage, and I believe it would be very small, have done their inner work, have healed their trauma, and truly believe and feel that it would make their life better to do body modification, which it is basically all it is.
No, I agree. Some people.
So, and like, but those people are few and far between in that community, at least the way that the media portrays it. So for those people that have done the work, healed the trauma, gone through everything, really put some thought and effort into it, and then make that decision, go nuts. But it shouldn't be covered by healthcare.
Yep.
And you should never be able to reverse it. I think you should put those two, if they're going to push that kind of legislation, it's not going to be covered, so you have to work your ass off. You have to pay for it if you want it. If I want a nice car, fucking healthcare doesn't pay for it for me.
Why the fuck would...
Well, you know what I mean? Like, you have to work to pay for that. If, like, we have all these ridiculous programs, like, in the healthcare system that support people, free needle exchange. And, again, marketed as, you know, we're keeping clean needles and people with disease, and we're helping keep all those numbers down. But my fucking auntie is like 65 years old, worked all her life, and she has to pay for all of her own shit. But you'll give free fucking needles to people who don't give a fuck about anything anymore?
That's because it's like false socialism.
Yeah, it's gross. But again, it shouldn't be covered. I don't believe that it should ever be covered. Like, you were given what you were given. You should be happy with that. If you want to go to this next stage, you should have to pay for it, and you should never be able to reverse it.
You're still talking about transgender?
Yeah.
Right? So, like, okay. I agree with you in a general sense, okay? Yeah. So you have to keep in mind that there is a very slim percentage of people who are transgender that genuinely have gender dysphoria, right? Yeah. It's a mental health problem. As much as they want to say it's not, it is.
Yeah. Well, and gender dysphoria is a super common thing that almost everybody on the planet goes through.
Well... You mean at a young age? And I'm talking about
to a certain degree.
I'm talking about like in the DSRM, like the mental health thing. There's an unbelievably small percentage of people that genuinely have gender dysphoria. Most of the people who are transitioning don't have gender dysphoria. They have something like autism or something, right?
Yeah. Or severe trauma.
Or severe trauma, some bullshit, right? They're not actually transgender. Now, the people who are in that very small percentage, I feel like they should be covered by HOEP because we cover all other mental health problems, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of like a constitutional thing in Canada where we will cover people's
with mental health issues.
Well, and in this case, where people who have
that line
Yeah.
is blurry and broken as fuck. That line doesn't mean shit. The lack of resources and funds for people, no.
The way
This
it's
is a
implemented
choice.
is shit. No. Okay, no. The ones who genuinely have
Yeah.
who have
Gender dysphoria.
Gender dysphoria, it's not a choice. It's a mental problem. The wires are crossed improperly.
Yeah.
The autistic ones who think have it, them it's a choice. Them it's because their parents, their teachers, the media they consume, fucking Tumblr keeps
Yeah.
fucking hammering home that they're like,
Yeah,
you're
you're
transgender, you're transgender.
Yeah.
Do you like drinking green tea? Guess what? That means you're transgender. No, you fucking idiot. No, but that's seriously what they go by.
But
those people shouldn't be covered.
That's one of the problems with this situation is because you can't weed that out. And that's what it goes
You
back
can.
to.
You can weed it out if you have psychiatrists in front of them testing them.
Yeah, but what if that psychiatrist has a bias to the transgender
Scrap
community?
him.
How would you know that psychiatrist? Because for all intents and
Look at his
purposes,
percentage rate.
what if he's a narcissist? He's going to know what he's doing, or she will know how to manipulate the system.
But they'll have a percentage rate of, okay, say like you should, okay, so we know that, I don't know what the actual statistic is, but it's something like 0.00 a
Yeah,
number
it's super fucking
has transgenderism, right? Or
transgenderism.
whatever the fuck you want to call it. Gender dysphoria.
Gender dysphoria. I like
Right?
transgenderism. That's
Yeah.
fun.
So we know that it's a percentage like that. So if you got two psychologists, right?
Yeah.
And one of them has like a percentage of like 25% of the people they go through
Yeah.
ends up getting it, guess what? They have a bias and they're not good for the job.
Yeah, but again, but that argument would just keep expanding. So then they would just approach and be like, I know the statistics say this, but I just been hitting home runs every time.
I've just been hitting trannies.
Yeah, it's just, I don't get to pick the cases. They fall into my lap.
No, that doesn't.
But that's how the system in the world works. That's how it would go. If he had a bias to it and someone came in and this is going to really make me feel better, or someone knows how to manipulate him.
If he's a
Same thing.
psychologist
Or
and he can
she.
be manipulated by someone who has autism or is some sort of sick pervert that is like a sexual thing, there's a lot of people that it is a sexual thing for them. Then like he's a very, very bad psychologist and shouldn't even be. I wouldn't even know how they would get like a degree in that shit.
But I mean, there's bad psychologists that exist all over. The place.
100
It's
fucking percent.
super- Yeah.
Yeah, there's.
But again, so and who's gonna? There's too many steps adding into this, and that's why I get what you're saying, where it's not their choice, it's a mental health issue, and it should be covered, but it's a hard line to walk, but also fuck off. We don't have the resources and the money to have some therapy.
Well, then
to get them to be able to find an avenue to get to that transition, to be able to financially do it.
How is therapy going to help them with that?
To be able to exist in the life and move forward so you can be a productive member of society, have a great career, set up your fucking savings account. Here's who you call. You can have channels like that. So when you're ready, you can go here and get your stuff done.
Okay, but then your argument, you're saying my argument has too many steps and all that kind of stuff, but then your argument can be deconstructed the other way. Where now it's just like, okay, well, we don't help these people, so we shouldn't help any people.
No, I think the help across the board should be the same. You should have somebody to talk to
So
and give you tools and resources to manage your...
You're saying that someone who has something like chronic depression, not caused by an outside influence, someone it's caused by I don't fucking know, just the chemicals in their brains aren't wired properly, who literally can't get out of bed, we shouldn't give them any meds whatsoever.
No, you know what should be done is start using a culture and a society based on healthy eating and exercise, because that's statistically the biggest advantage and cure-all for fucking depression. And most other diseases.
But it's because also that's the thing is you're not counting all the different forms where these things can come from, right? A lot of people have depression because all they do is play video games all day, don't exercise, and have a horrible diet. Yeah. They develop depression. But that's not the same type of depression as someone who has a chemical imbalance in their brain.
Yeah.
Right?
But both those cases, they get antidepressants.
Yes.
Okay, so then the transgender person gets antidepressants.
What? No.
Yeah, you're upset about what your body's like? Here's some antidepressants. Carry on.
But that
this will
won't-
fix the chemicals in your brain.
No, it won't. That's not how it
that's
works.
that's how it works. We talked about this. It shuts off the receptors in your brain. This is part of your weed talk.
Yeah, it
with
is.
antidepressants.
Yeah.
It shuts off those, and it would be the same thing. So none of you, all of these people, and again, like that's the system we have now with all of these conditions, is we give you prescription medication to turn your brain off.
No, well, okay.
Yes.
Yes, but no. So the way it's supposed to be done is because the people don't go and follow up. And there's also a lot of doctors that are pill pushers by the big pharma.
So the system, and again, like that goes back to the system being the problem.
But if your whole argument is
This is my
the
favorite
system, yeah, I know, right?
Go.
Your whole argument is the system is broken, thus fuck everyone.
No, the system is broken. Thus, build a new system.
But that's
that
not what
is-
you're saying, though. You're
Yeah, it absolutely is. I said build a new system based on healthy eating and exercise. That
I'm agreeing
cures
with you with that, but
that new
I'm saying that doesn't work for all cases. So what I'm saying,
nothing will work for if you try and please everybody loses.
it's not about a pleasing thing. It's
Absolutely. That would be the most effective treatment, and it would weed out most of the people that have gender dysphoria and who are just stuck in a fucking trauma circle.
well, it wouldn't weed out the autistic ones. The autistic ones wouldn't understand.
I think you're underrating the power of autism.
No, I'm not. In fact, I know very much the power of autism. I know what it's capable of. I'm not looking at you, Elon. See, that's what happens when you give someone who's autistic and has it under control and can like use it as a superpower.
Focus it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like a lot of them can't because they have shitty parents, no money, and have no social skills, and they're convinced they're a fucking dog.
Oh my god. Anyway, I think we're at an impasse because like I stand strong on like my system and then build off of that accordingly. Because the system that we have currently, not just for people with trans dysphoria or gender dysphoria,
Trans dysphoria.
Too many.
I hate them all.
I hate them all. Anyway, all mental health conditions and like the system sucks for all of those people across.
What
the
about
board.
people with Down syndrome?
That's like apples and oranges. And again, using a super hyper specific fucking argument to try and prove.
I'm not trying to prove anything.
Absolutely, you're using a fucking edge, fucking group or class to prove a point about all of these people fall in the same umbrella, and they fucking don't.
I know they don't, but you're saying that the basis for everything should be go exercise and go whatever.
Yeah.
And have a good diet.
Yeah.
Right? But it right off the bat, that like cuts it to strictly people who like have things like depression, anxiety.
Yeah.
And those like the three musketeers.
Musketeers?
Yeah.
We've been way too much into the trans community.
I know. The three musketeers of mental health problems now.
Yeah.
Which I agree, those ones can be fixed with just get off
But-
the fucking internet.
Well, even things like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, like it's more than just those things.
I have something super cool about that. Dude, go,
Yeah,
finish your
but
thought.
again, like it's not isolated. I think having a structure that's staying away, and again, you can't fucking weed out pill pushing doctors. There's a pile of them. We know, like a friend of ours who's had to deal with them and taking advantage of somebody that's mentally ill.
Yeah.
Again, but if you build somebody up and we live in a society that's nurturing and caring, and they genuinely have gender dysphoria. And, like, it's not a fad. It's not something that they're dealing with because they haven't healed trauma, or it's not clout chasing or some bullshit. Like, it's genuinely a problem.
Cloud chasing. They're like
Well,
a
but
rapper.
well, that's what they do. Like, people for clicks and views are now supporting a community or pushing a narrative they have no idea about to get clicks.
Yeah.
And they're being inflammatory to get clicks.
Yeah.
But there's no insight. There's no communication. We have super diverse groups of people, and we've talked to all of them, and we're good friends with a lot of them.
Yeah.
And from like every walk of life, and we have conversations with those people. But again, like that group of people would be like the group of intersex people. Calm. I almost got dyslexic. Clam. But like that's like talking about intersex people. We would be the only ones that have an tender. The fucking gayest sweethearts I've ever seen.
What's going on in here?
They should be little butt cheeks. But like that's like making the argument for intersex people. Again, like that's a fraction. Well, just
they make up an even smaller group.
but that's what I mean. It's this super hyper small group of people, and like the only ones that have any kind of argument for those groups would be some people from the intersex community because the hormones in their brains are fucked, and again, some people that have gender dysphoria because for the same reason. But by giving them the tools and treating them as a baseline human and dealing with humanity on its own, as opposed to fucking focusing on what your sex is the defining characteristic of your life, that's what the problem is. Stop focusing on your but that's where the therapy comes in. It's to train you that you are the way you are right now is perfect, and that you're capable of doing and accomplishing anything in your life and it doesn't need to be attached to your identity on a gender level. It's attached to your experience as a human, and you can grow through that. And if you get through that process and you've developed all these skills and you decide, I still want to cut my penis off or turn it inside out or have one sewn on, you have all of the skills to move forward in your life.
I like that because we tried to film this one before.
Yeah.
You had time to reflect on all the things you said, and now you're coming back with like you just reinforced your arguments that you had originally.
I was like beefing it up at home on the way. Like, fuck you, Patrick, piece of shit. I'm gonna win.
Yeah. And then you shit Isaac.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. We filmed this before, but it got lost, and we had to do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Total transparency.
Yeah.
Stop. Would you pay attention? Stop reading your. They're not. It's not fortune cookies.
Global
warming. Carry on.
I agree with you with the thing about exercise and that kind of stuff should be the first thing. Mm-hmm. I also know that it doesn't work for every single case. Mm-hmm. I think therapy should be available for everyone.
I think therapy should be available for everyone.
Should it be covered? Should it be covered?
Therapy?
Yeah.
Therapy, yes. Gender reassignment surgery? No.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Gender reassignment surgery is a surgery and it's not therapy.
Well, being shot and you go under surgery.
So if you want it covered, shoot your dick off. Okay. If you were willing to make that sacrifice and be like, someone fucking shot my dick off, better get it just removed. Go nuts.
No, but it's because your words were, it's a surgery, so it shouldn't be covered. So I was just like, well.
Because it's not therapy.
No, I agree it's not therapy.
Oh, then what are we still? And to be fair, and so that you feel validated and know that I was listening to you, I agree that it wouldn't be for every case. But that would be something you would have to build off after.
Yeah, you have to weed them out.
I agree. And then cross that bridge. See how those fuckers do when they're healthy. They're eating good. They feel good about themselves as they are.
We're very hypocritical telling people to eat good while we're eating candy.
I'm happy with my body.
Me too.
I don't give a shit. This is the perk of being comfortable in your own skin.
I know, right?
Yeah. I'm going to go home and crush a fucking pizza and drink like 8 cans of pop. And I smoke cigarettes all the time, so my days are numbered anyway. I don't give a shit.
All I could think of is just like, wow, he's not going to live long, is he?
Yeah. Just take care of my dog, that's all. But anyway, and then to the more major, this is the biggest point for the door that can't be closed. Because once we saw transgender, then it became transracial and then transabled. And
which is funny.
And
that's a ridiculous level where it's funny.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's the same thing. Because it would have the same argument as it's a mental health condition for transabled people.
That's the autistic people.
There's nothing to say that those people, again, a sliver of the percentage, can't actually have their wires crossed in the form that they believe that they are, in fact, transracial or transabled.
Well, that would... Okay.
I'm excited for this. Go.
Okay. So you do know that I studied this, right? Like...
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So... You can do the transgender thing, right? You can, the wires cross thing. That's a thing with there. When it comes to transable, or transracial, or transanimal, or whatever.
Yeah, is it it was trans species?
It's trans species. Yeah.
Is that a?
Yeah, it's a trans.
That's the next big fucking.
So that falls under a different That falls under a different category in the DSRM. Being transgender is its own thing. That other stuff is another thing. It's, if I remember correctly, it's under the spectrum of autism, and in some cases, it's considered like a form of schizophrenia.
Ooh.
Well, that's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
Because like they believe it's delusions.
Would you agree then that it's still a mental health issue?
Yes.
And then so someone who is of a color and wants to change their color, that should be paid for them under your eyes?
No, because
That's
not
the exact same thing as my
No,
argument.
it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. Because it's not the same type of mental health problem. It's a different mental health problem.
But it's still a mental health problem.
It's still a mental health problem, but it's a different one. If someone's schizophrenic and believes there are demons hanging from the fucking ceiling, is the solution to give them a gun so they can shoot them? Because that's what you're saying.
No, I'm saying that all of that shit is like, that's why it has to be built on my system. My system's better.
You're just saying your system is better and ignoring arguments that like poke holes in it.
No.
Yes.
No, and I even turned around and said I agree with you that there would be certain cases that you would have to deal with case by case.
I agree with
But
you on your
at no fucking way on heaven or hell will I ever say that reassignment surgery based on mental health conditions should be covered by OHIP. That is fucking insane. Unless they want to have a fucking free doctor, but I'm not paying fucking more money because that will come out of taxpayers. Oh, we have this program. Guess what, Matt? You're gonna have to start paying $5 more a fucking week. No, fuck you. If they have a benefits plan or a fucking medical package that they are paying into, that's also different. If they're working and paying into a medical plan that covers that, go ahead.
Well,
but that is different than me coming in off the street.
Is it actually HOAP that covers it though?
I have no idea.
Okay.
But my point is that I'm not paying for it. That's the whole thing.
I understand that you're not paying for it.
If they have a business and the business has insurance and a benefits package and it offers gender reassignment surgery, go to fucking town.
Okay.
But I'm not paying for it.
Okay.
That's the whole
I understand that you're not paying for it.
Yeah.
But I have a hard time explaining to you the difference between the two because
because of if it's we're doing this like morality compass of mental health, and if you're mentally,
it's not a morality compass.
Well, with the depression and anxiety and those,
I think those ones are made up.
I don't.
You don't think those ones are made up?
No, not at all.
They can be to me, a mental health problem is something that cannot be fixed from an outside influence of like generality. So if you can fix the problem you have with exercise, good dieting, and that kind of stuff, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, well, again, like that's stripping away. Like therapy is still part of that system.
Therapy's on the medical side of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
but that again would be a cure-all for almost all of those things.
Therapy's not a cure-all. Therapy only works a very low percentage of the time.
Therapy with the right system, with diet and exercise, and like good therapy, a good psychologist would fix a lot of issues. We pretend that it won't because we are not familiar with a system that doesn't act like that. We are familiar with a system that is based solely on drugs. But again, and like stats have shown, fresh, unlike Patrick's penis. What's that one? I can't see because of the light. Novice, damn it! No, I got fucked on that one. But again, it's our whole system and what we see and what we know and what we've experienced is, especially in the West, is based on medication.
Yeah, which is a problem because then it justifies certain mental health problems that can be fixed with super basic shit. Right? I'm not talking about the ones that can fix with super basic shit. That's why I'm saying anxiety, depression, all those like little token ones are made up and should be just ignored. And your system would do fantastic dealing with those ones.
Absolutely.
Right? And I'm just like, I'm all for your system to weed out those fuckers, right? Get rid of them. We don't care. I'm talking about someone who has schizophrenia. I'm talking about someone who suffers from delusions. I'm talking about someone who, I don't fucking know. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Right? I'm talking about those ones. Right? Those ones, you can put someone who has schizophrenia in therapy as much as you want.
Yeah.
It's not going to fix it. Ever.
Yeah.
Because it's...
But again, like, schizophrenia also has a scale.
It does have a scale, yeah. Mm-hmm. But the scale, again, can't be fixed with therapy.
Then what do you do with people that are violently schizophrenic?
You have to pill them up.
And where do they go?
They can integrate into society once they're pilled up.
I know you're right. Like, and I've seen those reports, but there's also people who have been integrated back into society with their medication and done horrendous fucking things.
That's because they're off their medications, or those people need to be followed, right? They need years of like constant supervision.
I think we should dive into that world like on its own episode.
I agree.
I think it would be awesome.
I think so, yeah.
Where are we at right now? I didn't want to pay for transgender stuff, and we're trying to relate schizophrenic people to the gender dysphoria.
It's because you're saying you don't want to pay for reassignment surgery.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, yeah, that's fine. I'm okay with you like not wanting to pay for reassignment surgery. I don't believe most of the people who are getting reassignment surgery are even transgender, right? So I'm essentially agreeing with you.
Yeah.
But then I'm saying the only thing we're arguing about is I'm just like for the people I'm talking about the people who are followed for like 5-10 years by a psychiatrist, and it's just like undoubtedly they have their trans whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
I'm saying that those people should have
it covered.
Have it covered to some degree, maybe not a whole thing. Because
okay, 20%. You twisted my arm.
Well, it's true. HOEP doesn't cover. If you go in for like back surgery or something, HOEP doesn't cover everything unless it's like a life or death situation.
Covers pretty much fucking nothing. It's garbage.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. Same with WSIB. It's dog shit.
Yeah. Well, WSIB is just there to make sure they like to cover their asses, not to help you.
Yeah.
So fuck them.
Yeah. Fuck WSIB.
Fuck OSHA.
Yeah. OSHA doesn't know nothing.
OSHA shit!
I saved you up for like 5 years. Yeah, what a bunch of garbage. Little orange book is toilet paper and filter. That's
Fuck that thing, bro.
Yeah, it doesn't know nothing.
People want to burn Bibles and Qurans. No. Burn the OSHA violation.
Burn the OSHA violation. Yeah. Oh, that took a weird turn.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Anyway. So, yeah, I still, no. No, it's a no for me. Anything that involves fucking elective surgery is out. For treatment.
What's elective surgery?
Like choosing it.
Oh, yeah. Like choosing to change something. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna argue with you. I just want to know where your line is. So like,
it's right at the door.
It's right at the door.
Like if you want breast implants, no.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the same fucking thing.
Well, not necessarily. What if
100%?
Well,
I'm unhappy with my body.
Hold on. If someone who has breast cancer has to have their breast cut off, will it be covered for them them to get implants?
Yeah.
What the fuck? Why?
Because they're.
What the fuck? Why? You just said they're not happy with their body. What the fuck?
Because it was cancer.
What the fuck?
Which would also be cured for the most part with a healthy diet and exercise.
No, that's not how cancer works.
It's 100% how cancer works.
Not.
Yes, it is.
Oh my god, that's not how cancer works.
100%. If you're fucking cancer is by and large increased because of a product of its environment, air pollution, poisonous food, fucking.
So you want him to go jogging in the poisoned air?
I want no more poison air. Have real air, real food, real abilities to communicate, and 90% of all of the bullshit we have to deal with will be gone. And then 10% we have fucking piles of money to throw at that shit because people aren't getting caught up in the system, sitting at home, fucking smoking weed, taking fucking Adderall, playing fucking Call of Duty and not working.
It just clicked. You're like a severe smoker. Yeah. And you're like mad about cancer.
Fuck cancer. And you know what? When I get lung cancer, I'm not going to bitch about it. I'm just going to keep smoking cigarettes quietly like a man, going to work until I'm dead.
I hope we're still doing this when you get cancer, and you will forget about this conversation, and I'll bring it up.
No, I'm going to take my fucking mask off and light my smoke and blow us both up. Yeah.
I thought you were going to one cigarette in the throat, one in the mouth.
Yeah, I can just fucking double dip now. Fuck you, Patrick. Fuck you, Patrick. Do whatever I want. And fucking, that's your throat. That's throat cancer. We don't get that in my family. Just lung.
Just lung?
Just lung.
Oh,
lung and
sucks.
stomach.
Lung and stomach. Oh, because you guys eat when you smoke?
Yeah, well, poisonous food.
Oh, fuck.
Anyway,
Okay.
we keep missing the most crucial point, which is this door. And again, I understand your point of those being rated in a different system psychologically, but if you start talking about how I feel is to be a man or a woman, how I feel is to be black, white, whatever the other colors are, how I feel is to be this animal, how I feel is to be this able, you can't stop that now. Regardless of if 0.01% of the trans community is actually affected by a mental condition they had no fucking sway over.
I don't think the trans community includes the people who are transracial and shit.
Yeah, but you can't stop that because the argument will now and forever will be, well, your feelings mattered, so why don't mine?
So
Where do you draw that line in the sand?
You want me to? I'll talk about something.
Okay, well here's my last.
Finish
let
your
me finish
thing,
this
and
statement
I
because
want-
it keeps getting spun up.
Yeah.
So my whole thing is that a lot of us, as collective, have feelings of being a certain way at certain times, all just throughout our lives, or wish we were something else, or whatever the case. For simplicity's sake, and to avoid confrontation, and just to make life a little bit easier, you have two choices. You're born a certain way. Be happy in your body. If you want to do the fucking work and you do the work and you want to make a change, or you're born with a condition, make the fucking change. But it stops there.
Okay.
Yeah.
You good?
Yeah.
Okay. So, to stop all the weird shit bringing up, we should just do bullying.
Bring bullying back.
Bring bullying back. You want something funny? Okay. The SJWs fucking hate this one being brought up and stuff, then they ignore it. But historically speaking, natives, what they did in their village, whenever a kid would be fucking weird or would act a certain way that wasn't good, they would drag them in the center of the village and they'd have everyone in the village bully them. So that they would change their behavior. They would humiliate them.
Humiliate them to the point where their spirit just broke and they gave up?
They gave up and then they got straight. I think we should do that.
Maybe
I
that's
think
a little far.
What the fuck?
I don't know. I feel like that's pretty fucking intense to put a little kid. That's bad. No.
No.
I'm against that.
Listen to my point here. Okay. There's a point.
I'm listening.
Okay. Someone, they truly fucking believe they're a koala.
Yeah.
Okay. They're not a fucking koala. So there's two options, right? There's actually three. You let them pretend they're a fucking koala. Yeah. You pill them up to fix it, or you drag them in front of their peers and strangers and then just hammer home that they're not a fucking koala.
What's the difference between pilling up the koala man or pilling up a transgender?
It's because it's a different type of mental health problem in the DSM.
But can it be corrected? Well, we're using
No,
with
it
medication?
won't. No, it won't, because the transgender one is not a delusion. It's miscross in the brain when it comes to knowing your gender. It's the exact same one as it's the exact same. You have all your fingers. Okay. People who lose limbs.
Yeah.
They can still feel, say you lose your finger.
Yeah.
You can
phantom pain.
They still feel the finger. They have a phantom thing, right?
Yeah.
It's the same part of the brain when it comes to people who are genuinely transgender.
They have phantom penises?
They have phantom penis or and they believe that a certain part of their body is not belonging to them. This actually happens to limbs and stuff. So sometimes people who have that same problem will end up chopping off their own arm because they feel like that's...
So then being trans-abled fits into that same section.
No.
Yes.
No. It's a different thing.
Same.
No, they're not. The trans-able people are people who are I identify as a blind person. Now, someone who has that phantom thing in their head will be like, this eye that I have is a parasite, is someone else's eye. It's not mine. And so they like stab it out. The person who thinks they're like, I identify as a blind person. They know it's their eyes. It's their eyes. They don't think it's someone else's eye. They don't think it's a parasite. They just identify as someone who's blind. You get what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. So it's a different thing in terms of how the brain chemistry works.
Yeah.
So people who have transgender are the same people who have like the phantom.
Have transgender.
Whatever. I'm saying stuff really quick.
We're trying to keep you entertained.
I know. Yeah. So it's the same thing as people who have those phantom limbs or believe that a limb is a parasite or that kind of stuff.
Is the same wiring misfire as that in the brains of people with gender dysmorphia?
Yes. Is the same
so
one.
Do you understand why confusion and desire for clarity in stating that those two then would be the same? Like if it's the same mechanism in the brain that's causing this leg has to come off because it belongs to fucking, so-and-so from 100 years ago, and I need to have a real penis to feel like a human being.
Yeah. Those are the same.
Yeah.
It's the same misfire. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. Can the people with the fucking phantom thing be treated with medication?
No.
This is always going to be fucking someone else's leg?
It's always going to be someone else's leg because it's the wiring in the brain that's kind of messed up. And most of the time, even if you medicate them, they'll, even if they take the medication every day type deal, eventually like the feeling gets too much.
So what's treatment for them? Is to just let them...
They amputate normally. Because doctors...
It better not be covered.
Well, that's the thing. It's not covered. So
Whoa.
It's not covered.
Juicy.
I know.
Why not, Patrick?
Why isn't it? Because it's considered mutilation.
Whoa.
I know.
What the definition of mutilation is.
You see, here's the thing. I could have just said whatever to win the argument, but I'm not. Because I like to play with it. I'm also a contrarian.
Yeah. Patrick identifies as a cat.
Meow. So... It's not
That's
covered.
The fucking grossest thing I've ever seen another human do.
Meow.
Stop it.
So it's not covered. No, it's not. And there was a massive debate in the UK and in Canada as to whether it should be covered or not. Mm-hmm. Right? Because the problem can't really be fixed through therapy, can't really be fixed through pills. Mm-hmm. So, and people were dying because they were cutting it off themselves. So now they're like saying, should it be covered or should it not be covered?
Has it gone through yet?
No, it's not covered still.
Decision?
It's not covered still because I don't know why. It's just not covered. I don't know if it should be covered or not. That's not something I'm going to like decide on. If I had, because like it's such a case by case basis. Yeah. Just like people who has gender dysphoria. Okay. In reality, it doesn't happen. It happens so rarely, that it's a case by case basis if the government covers it. Yeah. Normally,
but you can commit suicide whenever you want.
What do you mean?
Like assisted suicide.
That's fucking bullshit.
It's a piece of paper.
Yeah, I know.
You can do it for mental health issues.
Yeah, I don't believe in that shit.
Yeah. At all? I think that
assisted suicide should be again on a case by case basis. Yeah. Like it happens all the time where like a major medical event will happen and then the government decides, are we covering this or are we not? It's not like
do you think they just flip a coin?
No, I think it's a group of like doctors that get together and they have arguments like we do until eventually they're just like, all right.
I think they probably dress better.
Yeah, they probably do dress better. Yeah.
And maybe don't
do it in the bar.
The same surroundings that we do. It's not a sterile environment.
But yeah, so like when it's a case by case basis like that, whether the government covers it or not, I'm okay with that. And I feel like it should be on a case by case basis with transgender.
You have swayed me with your arguments for a case by case basis, but it would have to be an informed case, and you can't trust the judgment of.
And it used to be informed cases. Yeah, it used to be like in Canada. Reassignment surgery was like something that happened like once every fucking 10 years. Yeah. Right? And it was a case by case basis. So like, but I'm okay with that.
Those floodgates they're incredibly hard to manage. And again, like that's my point is like,
Well, especially
it's very
now, since
utilitarian, and I'm like,
I love utilitarianism.
I'm well aware of that, but at the same time, like,
I will.
sorry, Doug, like,
I'm gonna go down on record and say I'm a hardcore utilitarian.
I can get behind some levels of utilitarianism, but I think that, like, all of those things have specific parts that are good. I think all those systems have little things that they do well.
I agree. You want to talk about us? Did you ever hear about the pilot project in Hamilton that they did for?
With, like, airplane pilots?
No, it was a pilot project for what's it called? When everyone gets a certain amount of money
Yeah.
from the government. There, what was it?
Yeah.
What's that called? Universal basic income.
Yeah.
And it worked fantastic.
Yeah. But?
But the government was just like, because like productivity went up.
Yeah.
People were getting, the government was getting more money back. People were spending more money, all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
But they're like, it was a 100% success. And Canadian government's just like, yeah, we're not going to implement that.
Yeah. That's fucking gross. And they got it from a socialist country.
Yeah.
And but they kept it. And it's fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I hate the government.
I know you do.
Yeah. Well, like, I shouldn't say that. Redacted. I hate the people that we have in power in our government. I think the government could be a great thing if you have the right people working in it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
But when it's got its own kind of...
Its own little beast.
Its own little beast.
What it's doing.
That can be corrupted and
Yeah.
manipulated and, just zero someone if you don't like what they're saying. Bad system.
With the robot attack dog.
Yeah. You'd be like, humans didn't do it.
Oh,
Yeah. Hands are clean.
Yeah, I know.
Find fingerprints now.
Yeah, I know. Seriously. They use the robot dogs to kill people they don't want.
Robot dog assassins. If they can climb walls, I'm out of here.
It's okay. They can't climb ladders, though.
Yeah. Just push it over. Or stand behind it real quick. You see that thing turn around? Yeah. Fucking.
Grab it by the jaw.
Yeah, I have a gun now.
Yeah, holding the whole thing.
It's like. You know, whoever made that had one of those stupid robot dogs from the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, with his... It's not even that big of an improvement, to be honest. I'm gonna call them out. Like it's the
not that
same fucking
impressive.
thing. Yeah, you just made your dog from when you were 5 a little bigger and put a gun and a camera on it.
Yeah. It's not that impressive. Honestly, and here's the thing. I don't know why they're giving these robot legs.
Yeah,
Anyone that's an engineer, which I don't normally like, but in
Yeah.
this case, they're right. The most effective means of travel
You want
for...
this?
No, it's yours. The most effective means of travel for any sort of machine is tank threads.
Yeah.
It's true, it is. And I'm just like, why are you guys putting it on legs? It makes no fucking sense. Just put threads on it.
You know exactly why.
So
They're
it's
doing-
more human
Yeah,
looking?
they're humanizing it as much as possible
Yeah.
to avoid backlash. Because if you put tank treads on the Robo Dog, it's now a tiny tank. It's not a Robo Dog.
It's automatically cooler.
It's way cooler. More pushback.
It just barks.
Rough.
Rough. It comes at you with the tank threads. Woof, woof, woof. Yo.
The world we one day will live in. Okay. Yeah. So I think we covered it.
That was the bit about about the LGBTQ.
That went on a whole bunch
What
of
the
fucking.
fuck are we even talking
I
about?
don't know.
What was the other ones?
Weed.
Are we just down to weed now?
Yeah. I think. Intersex is again genetic. Like people that are born with. I don't want to say a disability, but differently.
It's not a it's not a disability. It's just
I don't want to say it's like a genetic. It's
it's a genetic malfunction. It's like someone who's
Yeah.
born with 3 arms.
So I mean that takes it out of the equation. And again, like people are saying, super high percentages, and it's not.
It's not. No.
It's
Made up this
incredibly
percent.
small.
Yeah.
And my other issue with this whole community is that there are so many other pressing things to be dealt with that actually make a difference.
Yeah.
And then again, getting to a system that is nurturing of who you are as a human outside of your corporeal form
Yeah.
will cut all of this bullshit
Absolutely.
in more than half.
Mm-hmm.
And we
I
live
think it's I'm very serious when I say it's. I think it's just because we like nurtured people too much or mommied people too much.
Yeah.
Like, everyone wins type shit.
Well, we did that at the same time by while we were hugging them, we took all of their shit away. So you have nothing now.
Oh, they have no personality.
They have nothing to associate with, nothing
That was
meaningful.
my argument last time.
I took it.
I know you took it. It was good. It's a good one.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah. Well, you didn't bring it up, so I thought I'd throw it in there. I remember some of the shit.
I know.
I think that's where
he listens to me when he talks.
I listen.
Talk. Yeah, I know.
I listen all the time. I listen to everybody.
No.
I think it's important to listen.
I do agree. It's important to listen.
I'm just fucking old and cheap. And I'm so fucking tired of people asking for shit. Every fucking community, we want restitution. We need fucking payback. I want this attached to my body. I want this taken off. Just get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
I'm tired of it. You don't get restitution for something that happened fucking 100 years ago.
That I agree with. That makes no sense. It's the sins of the father type shit. Except it's this case, it's like sins of the great grandfather.
Yeah, but it is fucking the plight of the taxpayer. It is bullshit. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Even when they did the voices for Truth and Reconciliation,
Yeah.
there was super amazing fucking people, and when they spoke, they held fucking my attention. They had my respect because it wasn't about pointing fingers or blaming anything blaming anybody or asking for anything.
Because nobody alive today can be blamed because none of them took part in any of it.
Well, and these people were about we don't want to separate. We are already broken apart as a people. We want to be one Canada. We want to be together. They were super polite and diplomatic and respectful, and it was awesome to listen to them speak. And I would stand behind them any day of the week. And if I had money, I'd probably send it.
Do you want to know why? Because they're asking for unity.
Yeah, but you know what the other side of that coin was? Do you know what they asked for? Money and payback.
Mm-hmm.
From people that had nothing to do with it.
No one wants... Everyone is okay with unity. Mm-hmm. Because it's...
No, they're not.
Oh, no. Well, obviously, no.
All those other groups, the residential school issue was the only one that came close to being about a united front. Every child lives matter, and most of the people that spoke were about being together and having a better direction.
You took something I said out of... I meant in a general sense, the population... the individual likes unity, right? It's only special interest groups that are loud minorities that are very much for division.
Yeah, but if you add that to a generation where people don't know how to process information or communicate or heal, you get people that will relate to those things without any way of...
They also make it very pointed, right? If you talk about Black Lives Matter, it's very pointed. If you're black, you're included in it. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was nice to see. And again, there was a lot of people that stepped up and said, you're going too far. Stop fucking littering when we do our marches. Stop burning down small businesses that had nothing to do with it. Stop yelling that all white people are the white devil, racist, born that way. And there was a bunch of people, and kudos to those, because they were standing up to our community.
Did you hear that Walmart pulled out of Chicago?
Yeah.
You heard about that?
No, I'm anticipating more.
So Walmart, because of all the looting and the very bad neighborhoods, have lost so much money that it's not profitable for them to operate in the city of Chicago.
That's fucking insane. Huh. And there's areas in those major cities where police just won't go.
Well, no, they'll get shot.
Yeah, but that's fucking nuts. That's crazy. Where are the people that are working on that solution?
Well, I can't talk about this subject without going super far off the fucking...
So should we table it for... We'll do a schizophrenia Chicago thing?
Yeah, we can, yeah. Because if I start talking about this one, you're going to be taking out the fucking fishing rod. You're going to need to reel me in.
Okay, so we'll table...
Yeah, table it and we'll go something else.
Audience, can you make some notes that we have to talk about schizophrenia and Chicago? Please and thank you. And then, so...
What the fuck? What the fuck?
She made a crucifix. Wow, we're on fire. That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's like good work.
Yeah, it's too bad we don't have a Pinterest channel.
Christ.
But like, anyway, my last thing to like those movements
Yep.
is like stop Asian hate. Let's work on stopping, all hate.
Let's not hate the people that make most of our stuff.
Fair point. But like stopping all hate, and hate isn't stopping discussion, right? You're allowed to talk. You're allowed to speak. You're allowed to have an opinion. Just because your opinion is different from someone else's doesn't mean you hate them as like a human being. You might really dislike or be put off by their subject matter, but you could still respect them as a person. Mm-hmm. And again, like there's a difference between like weaponized language, between being an ally and supporting, and then just respecting. I can respect that you're having a human experience and this is what your fucking mind is telling you to do. I'm not going to give you any money. I'm not going to go to your march. That doesn't mean I'm fucking going to crucify you. Like, there's a difference there. And just because I'm not an ally doesn't make me your enemy. But when they use language, like you said, it becomes a very pointed, sharp argument for cutting through people.
Yeah.
And making them stand, and they make an imaginary line of, oh, this is the line and you're on that side, so you're bad.
Yeah.
You're this, you're that, you're this, you're that. And then same with Black Lives Matter, and people were mad because they were bringing up cases of what about all lives matter? Well, that's reductive to the trife and plight that we as the black people, and it's not dismissing that fucking racism is really bad in certain parts of the world, in certain organizations and certain corporations, but you'll be much more effective if you all stand together united for like.
I'm much more for what my buddy Noah said. No lives matter.
No lives matter. No one's special.
No one's special.
No one's special. I can get behind. No lives matter. I feel like people's lives matter. Everyone has loved ones or fucking a purpose or drive. Most people have some combination of those things. Like, people's lives matter. You can't just like throw people away. I think that's part of the problem is we have no respect for life in general. I think that's part of like people.
I think that people in higher positions have no respect for
110%.
Yeah.
And like that's one of the scary things. Oh, this is a nice segue back to that firewall.
Yeah.
Is those stories where you hear about people poison companies and corporations that are fucking Western owned,
Yeah.
poisoning entire Eastern communities and killing thousands of people. They now have the leverage to say this doesn't come in.
Yeah.
And that's not an isolated case. We have a lot of cases of things happening
They
overseas
do
and
it here.
at home.
They do it here.
Yeah, well, they overseas and at home.
Yeah.
Wow, we tied that up with a bow.
I know, eh?
High five.
High five.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go into weed because I'm going to piss everybody off.
Okay.
God, I love it. Start, Mr. Computer. Okay, so.
Just get it fired up.
Go. Meow.
Gross.
I know, right?
Fucking rubbing alcohol Q-tips when I go home. Fucking
Right,
jab them into my
right
head.
in the eyes.
Yeah. I can't.
Oh, look at that. He's trans blind or whatever it's called.
Trans-blind. Trans-abled.
Yeah.
Trans-abled. And it's your fault. You caused the medical condition. Conviction.
Conviction.
Condition.
Oh, okay.
Marijuana.
Okay, so I'll drop my background, okay? So that people know I'm not talking out of my ass.
Yeah.
I had notes. I lost them. Apparently, I'm fucking retarded. So anyway, my background in school is rehabilitational justice. So we're talking human development, child development, and the way it affects people's lives, laws, all this kind of stuff, right?
Okay.
And a hyper focus on drugs because we're talking the justice system. All right, so I have a beef with people who... I have a beef with, like, weed culture in a general sense, okay?
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to prefix it, and I'll reiterate it multiple times. I'm 100% cool with people smoking weed. I think smoke as much weed as you fucking want. I don't care. More power to you. Do what you want to do.
Yeah.
But when you come to me and start listing off bullshit arguments that are just purely made up, whether it be science or made up facts or whatever,
Yeah.
it fucking burns my ass, okay? So we all know someone who all they do in their life is like sit in a fucking garage sucking on a bong 24 fucking 7, right? Like that's their life, right?
Yeah.
And like a good example of this, the type of person is like people who like wake and bake, right?
Yeah.
Like the first thing to do when they wake up is they start smoking. And well, those people will be like some of the first people to tell you that like they're not addicted to weed.
Yeah.
Right? That's fucking bullshit. So we can break it down. First off, I'll break down addiction, right? Addiction in the medical sense, that's what these people often refer to when they talk about marijuana, that they're not addicted. They talk about in the medical sense of addiction. So the medical sense of addiction is you will die if you don't consume this.
Yeah.
Right? And marijuana, and you can be the most, like someone who just literally breathes in weed 24/7.
Yeah.
If you stop, you won't die. So you're technically not addicted in the medical sense, but you are addicted in the dependency sense.
Yeah.
Right? So when they say they're not addicted, they're full of shit. They're 100% addicted.
Yeah.
A good example, like to compare this kind of stuff with, is with coffee, right? Everyone knows someone that will say something like, "Oh, don't talk to me until I have my first cup of coffee in the morning," right?
Yeah.
You're one of those. Which, fair enough. I have no problem. Again, no problem with it. But he would be addicted to caffeine.
I'm 100% addicted to caffeine.
He's addicted to caffeine.
Yeah.
Now, he's not addicted in the sense of he'll die if he doesn't have caffeine.
But someone else will.
Someone else might die. But he has a dependency on caffeine, which is, again, addiction.
Yeah.
Because your body,
I agree 1,000%.
your body needs it in order to function properly.
Yeah.
But someone who says the exact same thing will say the exact same thing about smoking their weed in the morning, and then you say no, but that's because you're addicted or you're dependent. They'll freak the fuck out on you and say shit like, "Oh, it's impossible addicted to weed. Weed's the greatest thing on the face of the fucking earth. It cures fucking earthworms or whatever the fuck it is you have." It's like, weed does have medical properties. It does, 100%. But it's not a cure-all drug. It's not the greatest thing on the face of the earth. It won't fucking fix all the problems on the planet.
Yeah, and like every other drug and every
It
other
has-
medicine, it's dosage and
Absolutely. It has dosages and all this kind of stuff.
moderation.
So I had all the stats on here, but for some reason I can't get them. So I'm just going to list off a few things, right?
Yeah.
So short-term health stuff related to marijuana would be like increased bursting blood vessels, increased heart rate, and increased blood pressure, and decrease in blood pressure, which is the exact same things that you have from smoking cigarette, right? You get like a head rush or anything, that kind of stuff. It's the exact same thing as smoking cigarettes. When it comes to long-term effects, though, when it comes to smoking weed, we're talking memory problems. We're talking developing things like depression, anxiety. We're talking, what's some of the other ones? I don't remember them all.
You've been smoking too much weed.
Shit, I don't smoke at all, bro. Oh, man.
Wish you had your stats.
I wish I had my fucking stats in front of me. Fucking piece of shit laptop. Now I'm just letting it look like a chump.
Technical difficulties.
Technical
Don't worry about it. Technical difficulties happen to everybody.
But so long-term use of marijuana. Oh yeah, that's right. Cognitive ability and decision making.
And your IQ drops.
Your IQ drops. Yes.
Yeah.
And these are permanent effects. Like you can't reverse them. Like if you stop smoking weed, you won't gain back your IQ points. You won't gain back your cognitive ability.
Really?
Like that's like a permanent nerf to yourself. The effects are way worse if you start smoking when you're much younger. And before I keep going, I just want to like really emphasize that these effects don't really apply to someone who just smokes occasionally, right?
Yeah, this is like chronic long-term.
Yeah, chronic
like
long-term smokers, burnouts. Yeah.
And their misinformation.
Yeah. So if you smoke like, once every 3 days, once a week or whatever to chill out, this doesn't apply to you.
Yeah.
But the symptoms and the effects on you become way worse when you start smoking when you're young. And when I say you're young, I mean before the age of 25. Yeah. And you become a chronic smoker before the age of 25. The age of 25 is around the time where the human brain is fully developed and will not go through other major changes.
Yeah.
So, but when you start smoking beforehand, a lot of people start smoking when they're teenagers. The problem is the cannabinoids take the place of your naturally occurring feel goods. I'm gonna refer to it as feel goods. I'm mainly referring to like the chemicals in your brain that are released when you accomplish a task, when you do something fun, that kind of stuff, right? So your brain has receptors, right? It's like a specific shape. Well, I'm just using an example, okay? Just to understand. We'll say it's in the shape of a Y. Okay. So your brain will produce a chemical when you do something productive, right? Like you build something, you draw something, you go for a run. Exercise is another thing that releases these things. Funny enough, how that goes back to our depression thing. Whoop. But so your body releases these things because your brain knows that evolution-wise, we have to encourage this kind of behavior in order for the human to be successful.
Yeah.
But when you smoke weed, especially a lot of weed, when you're young, the cannabinoids are like a roided out version of this Y shape, the feel good.
Yeah.
Right? And it's okay. You get it if you just smoke once in a while, it's fine. It won't affect you. You'll feel fantastic, euphoric, whatever.
Yeah.
But when you're smoking it every single day, your body becomes dependent on it and will stop producing its own version of the feel good. And not only that, but the receptor will become desensitized and will need the little weed feel good, the cannabinoid, to feel good in any shape or form. Yeah. And eventually this reaches a point where you need it to just feel normal.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of, I don't want to say plateaus, but it sort of plateaus. And you're unable to feel happiness. Or it's not happiness. Happiness is not the right word for it. Contentment? Was that the word I'm looking for?
Could be.
I don't know. It doesn't.
This is your topic.
I know. Anyway, so without the cannabinoid, you don't feel good.
Yeah.
You're not happy. You're not functional. At this point, you have permanent damage to yourself.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do. Now, it's a permanent effect on you, and it will permanently affect things like your decision making, your IQ, like Matt said, and your memory.
Yeah.
Especially the younger you do it, the more it will affect your memory. Now, this sort of transitions into the fact that marijuana is a depressant. And it's a depressant because of what I just explained, how it makes it so that eventually your brain can't feel normal. You'll feel down without it. Give me a second here. Get my train of thought. Okay. And this goes into like why a lot of times nowadays, you brought this out last time, a lot of nowadays where people suffer from things like depression and anxiety.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time those people are habitual weed smokers.
Yeah.
Right? And it's because they've been smoking for so long. And the only way for them to feel any sort of happiness or joy is through these chemicals that we give them. Now, a lot of times these people will go to a doctor and say they have depression, and they'll try a few different types of antidepressants, and none of them work because their receptors are completely fucking shot. So the only way for them to function somewhat properly is to give them depressants that just turn off that function.
Yeah. So
that's why a lot of times you'll hear people say, "Oh, I'm on antidepressants. I just don't feel anything."
Yeah.
That's where that comes from. So with that, we have that. We're going to put it aside here. this I didn't say last time, but marijuana is, I believe, a phase 2 drug, which actually makes it more dependent than things like caffeine and stuff. It's more dependent is just another word for addictive.
Yeah.
So it's more dependent than caffeine, and it has worse effects on you than caffeine. I'm gonna jump back. I'm gonna jump back because I want to talk about the younger thing. This is what I need in my notes.
Yeah, I know. Don't worry, we're hanging in there.
We're hanging in there.
listening.
I know. When the effects of marijuana become even worse when someone smokes while they're pregnant. Now, because it will affect the development of the child.
Yeah.
Now, you know how like you hear about like fucking coke babies or like that kind of stuff? Meth babies, they come out addicted. Same thing can happen to your baby if you're smoking weed all the time. And the baby's brain development, this is like one of the most crucial part of a human development is when they're in the womb being developed.
Yeah.
Their mind will be permanently affected.
Sorry, I'm making hot box jokes to myself.
Yeah.
Carry on.
When you're hotboxing your baby,
Yeah. Don't hotbox your baby.
don't hotbox your fucking
There's
baby.
no womb for pot smoke.
The baby will come out with like severe mental development issues. Now, I'm not saying your kid's going to come out missing a fucking chromosome or have one too many.
Yeah.
I'm saying they're going to right off the bat be nerfed as fuck. Their max level IQ will be very low, and I'm talking like something like 100, right? Which nowadays is like pretty fucking low. Like the average IQ in the world in a general sense is something like 120, right? Yeah. So you're 20 points below, which is a lot. And your baby comes out that way. And it has all the other stuff, the memory issues and the cognitive issues. But not only that, but they have a 5% increase. No, 5 times as much likely to be born with something like schizophrenia.
Yeah.
Which is a massive jump.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's a huge, huge jump. I don't have much else to say about weed other than that.
Yeah. So don't smoke weed when you're pregnant.
Don't smoke weed when you're pregnant. You can smoke weed as much as you want. That's the thing. I have nothing against people smoking weed.
Yeah, you're very like.
I'm very open. I am for the legalize of all drugs.
Yeah. What's the country that legalized?
Portugal.
And it replaced it started picking people up when they hit rock bottom, putting them in rehab. Crime surrounding drugs has gone down
unbelievably.
Yeah.
And the consumption rate in people went down an unbelievable amount when they started when they made all drugs legal.
Yeah.
The consumption rate went down. The rehab rate went up, and the crime rate related to drugs went down.
Yeah.
The legalization of drugs is you know how they say the US has a war on drugs?
Yeah.
If they actually did have a war on drugs and they actually wanted to get rid of it, they would legalize absolutely everything.
Yeah.
It's the most efficient way of dealing with a drug problem.
Well, and it strips away any of that, like, that taboo, you're not allowed to do this. Like, all of that. A lot of people turn to drugs as, like, a source of rebellion or start experimenting as a source of rebellion or, like, release. So I think taking that away kind of gets rid of that stigma of like, I'm a badass to be doing this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so cool to be doing that. Like, that all goes away when Timmy down the street can do that. Like, you're not special.
Yeah. And actually here in Canada, when weed became legal, there was actually a decrease in consumption when younger people. It wasn't like
probably for the same.
So it was for the exact same reason.
Yeah.
It's because it no longer was cool. It was perfectly legal.
Yeah.
Like most kids nowadays don't smoke cigarettes, right? Because cigarettes are perfectly legal to get. Everyone's like, yeah, cigarettes are dumb. You're going to die, right?
Don't listen to him, John.
Right? So like when they're like, oh yeah, weed's legal. You can get it anywhere now. It's not illegal.
Yeah.
People sort of lose interest, right? People automatically have an interest in shit that's illegal. because they tell you you're not allowed
and
to.
it becomes like an experience,
Yeah.
like you're doing something that you're not supposed to. It's, it's this seedy kind of experiment. Yeah, when that goes away, it's like part of the experience.
Yeah. And I want to touch on the economics of weed, right? So I was someone, and this is why, again, I'm all for people fucking smoking weed, right? When weed in Canada was becoming legal, I was like heavily invested in that shit. Yeah. I'm talking tens of thousands of dollars here, all right, invested in it. And I saw the way that the Canopy company was going, and I could tell that they were a bunch of fucking idiots, and they like failed to sell weed to the country that consumes the most weed, right?
Yeah.
Like Canada, okay, that's another stat I had on here that I didn't put on, but it's 19% of people under the age of, was it 16? 19% of 16-year-olds are habitual weed smokers.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's a huge percentage
It's a
of
huge
that population.
Yeah, and by habitual, I'm talking like they smoke weed every day. The people I'm talking about, the ones who have this receptor problem, right?
Yeah. Well, and if you look at things like you said, it bringing out things like depression and anxiety, and then these kids smoke a pile of weed for a couple of years, and then it's time for them to enter the workforce or start moving ahead with their education.
Yeah.
And then they go on the system.
Yeah.
And
and then they're just on the system forever.
yeah.
Because like they can't get out of it because they've permanently damaged themselves.
Yeah. Which is I think is fucked.
Yeah. But anyway, the economics of weed. So Canada's one of the countries that consumes the most weed. If it's not the country that consumes the most weed, it's like number 2.
Yeah.
But so it was basically like a fucking the pot at the end of the fucking rainbow. It was like free money. Printing fucking money was like
The
growing
theory.
weed. The theory, right? Canopy, which was a company that I was paying heavy attention to it when I was invested into it, and I saw that they were fucking up, and I eventually sold out. Now, later on, I found out I knew people that worked in Canopy, and I'm not talking about the fucking bud pickers. I'm talking about engineers, right? And they were telling me the way that they was set up, they were not hiring old blood. There was not a single gray hair on the fucking board for that shit. It was just people that were brand new, straight out of like university, college. They had zero real world experience, and well, as we can see, the company is basically failing, if not failed. Like they still haven't turned a profit by selling weed. The only thing that they've made profit with is a fucking sports drink. Zero weed related to it. It's literally just a fucking sports drink.
It's crazy. Does it have CBD or anything?
No, nothing. It has no weed. It has nothing. It's just a sports drink.
That's
you know BioSteel?
Yeah.
That's the sports drink.
Oh.
It has nothing to do with weed. That's the only thing that's making them money.
It's crazy. That's sad for that town because they were really excited for.
They were really excited. Yeah, they had
be-
Snoop Dogg and Willie Nelson and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be prosperous.
Yeah.
And bring the town back because it's an old town and their factories have all pretty much left. So to have something like this big, new, fucking up to date, fancy place that's gonna have all these jobs and then for them to shit all over it because it was mismanaged is sad.
Yeah, and and that's the thing, right? It's like they had bought an unbelievable amount of land in BC and in Quebec and in Ontario. They sold most of this land in the warehouses. And now in that small town, they had bought the 2 biggest fucking chunks of land and factory for there. Now one of them is completely shut down and there's nothing in there. They brought one weed sorting machine to this like smaller building where they make the fucking BioSteel shit.
Yeah.
And it's fucking ridiculous. And even that, the company that they were buying the weed sorting machine from is a company in Montreal.
Yeah.
But because that company doesn't have a license to be manufacturing weed, they have to use they used oregano to like test it, but it doesn't have the same consistency. Weed coming out of like Canopy, the fucking factory, is like a sticky substance. It's not even dry yet. They're like it's so like they're sorting a store-bought oregano that's like dry as fucking bone, drier than the fucking hay in here. And it's just like it's going through perfectly fine. So once they start fucking putting weed through it that has like fucking like 30% moisture, that shit just clumps and like sticks and is basically the machine. The machine doesn't work. I was told that they had to like a bunch of the people working at Canopy, the engineers had to show up and they had to modify the machine. They got like dudes who like living on a fucking farm come by to like fucking fix the machine for them with a fucking welder, because bought from the manufacturer, it didn't fucking work.
Yeah.
And these people in the boardroom had no like, they were perfectly okay with this being an issue. And it wasn't just an issue with one machine. It was with every single machine they had.
Yeah, that was built and based for something else.
Yeah.
But, and like those things happen with companies, but that's part of like doing your actual job and doing due diligence.
Yeah.
And like they might not have had a license to be building stuff, but you go and you try and test it out and see if it's going to work.
Yeah.
Before you start spending millions of dollars on equipment.
Because you're right. Those machines were literally tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And how long has weed been legal now? What, 5 years maybe?
Yeah, something like that. Maybe a little longer.
Yeah. In 5+ years, you aren't able to turn a profit by selling weed.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And still now, even still today, the price of weed in the stores is higher than street value.
Yeah.
Which blows my fucking mind.
And substantially higher.
It's substantially higher.
Close margins. It's insanely high.
It's like, are you fucking serious? Like what was it? Like a P5 costs like $15 at the store? It should cost like what? Like at most $5? Yeah. But it's costing like 2-3 times the price at fucking at the weed stores.
I mean, if someone can figure out how to turn a profit for
doing it illegally, like growing it in like the fucking woods.
Yeah.
And not only that, they're growing it in the fucking woods, harvesting it in the middle of the fucking night and fighting off the fucking FDA.
Yeah.
And they're able to turn a profit and selling it.
Massive profit. Yeah.
Meanwhile, you have these massive factories, the green light of the fucking government being like, do it, man, make me some fucking money. And you still fuck it up.
Yeah.
And the quality that you're bringing out is subpar.
Yeah.
To fucking Farmer John who's doing it in his fucking cornfield.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, it's brutal. Well, they made it too like government commercial.
Like made it too government commercial. What do you mean by
when
that?
you like the packaging sucks? Like the products that you buy sucks. It comes with fucking labels, safety.
Yeah.
Like there's things that you have to keep in there because of
legal reasons.
Yeah. But I mean, like that whole process from start to finish was just like brutal. And I mean, you have a dispensary on every fucking corner.
Dude, they're like across the street from each other.
Yeah.
They're like there's the entire strip malls where it's just different dispensaries.
Yeah.
And like people say, oh, that might be one of the reasons it's not making money because it's oversaturated.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is oversaturated, but like everyone's smoking weed.
Yeah.
Like literally everybody. I don't know what the percentages of people smoking weed, but it's like I'd say like about 50% of people smoke weed.
Really, that high?
I would say it's about that. Yeah.
That's wild.
Like
you said, it's a culture that's developed and it's been ingrained.
Yeah.
That's.
But like even if it's not half the population, we have 16-year-olds, and the stats of like the 16-year-old being 19% is from like 2017 or something like that, or 2011.
So like it's getting old.
It's so like this percentage went up.
Yeah.
And these people grew up, right?
Yeah.
So and here's the thing: people who smoke weed, they're like habitual. They smoke every day. It's like fucking people who smoke cigarettes. It's not someone who's drinking alcohol. I'm not judging you. You can smoke cigarettes all you want. It's not people who are like
yeah, it's moderation is the thing that's being overlooked here.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, it's become a culture, it becomes a habit, and then it's something that you're doing all the time, and it's having detrimental effects on like your longevity cognitively and otherwise.
And it's 100% addictive. And for somehow government backed, you still can't turn a profit.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
It blows my fucking mind.
I haven't been in there in a while, but I don't see any goofy fucking pictures on their shit.
On what?
Weed packaging.
Oh, weed packaging. Yeah, the cigarette packaging has like a bunch of shit.
Eyeball
with
with
an eyeball warning you
needle.
that your dick's gonna fall off and your balls are gonna explode in your sleep.
That would be probably much.
And people are just and like you're just there. You got 2 cigarettes up your nose, 1 in the mouth and 2 in the ears, and you're like fucking have a good time, right?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, like there's none of that shit on.
There's nothing on those.
There's nothing about the health issues on the fucking weed packaging.
Especially if.
You know what they should do in every weed packages? They should have it so that like if you turn it a certain way, like a monster appears. Every 5 of them, so we're like 5 times more likely to get schizo.
Yeah.
It's like, ah!
Well, then we would just collect them. Like, I got this. It's super rare.
Yeah.
Sloth from the Goonies.
Yeah. And even then, the fucking potheads would fucking love it because they're just like, yo, this is fucking sick.
Yeah, they would just sit there and look at it.
Yeah, they'd be happy with it.
Yeah.
And still can't turn a profit. I'm sorry, I can't get over the not turn a profit thing.
Are you more frustrated not about the fact that they are lying to an entire society about the negative side of marijuana, or that this company shit the bed and didn't turn a
The
profit?
company shit the bed and then I was supposed to be a fucking millionaire! Okay?
Ooh, we found it.
Yeah, I was sitting there and I was watching my $100,000 go down like, oh, okay, it went down to $80,000. Oh, okay, all right, maybe we'll go back up. 63. Hey, wait a minute. How is it going down? What the fuck? I was very upset.
Did you apply to help them?
No,
Well, that's your fault.
they wouldn't have taken me. They're just like, oh, yeah, we need someone who has a university degree in business to do this.
Yeah.
Means nothing.
Practical application is
Yeah.
always more important.
It's just like, bro.
Yeah, but when they start rolling out mushrooms and coke, then
Well,
they'll probably hire these guys and it'll be better.
So now I've been actually looking into investing in coke, because coke is legal in Canada. For people who don't know, the actual plant of cocaine is legal in Canada, right? And you can go to there's different places like in Vancouver, Montreal, Toronto. You can go and you can get to coca bars where you can have cocaine tea and that kind of shit, right? 100% legal. There's no laws against it. You can do it. And it does get you high like coke. Calm down.
I'm sober.
I know. I'm very proud of you.
Yeah.
Keep it up. Don't ever stop. But you can get high and drink coke tea.
Zero.
So
They just spell it different.
yeah. And in a few places they have workarounds to sell you mushrooms.
Yeah.
Right? This is especially in BC. They do a lot of this shit. That's like the stoner capital of the fucking world. But so I've been looking into those things because I'm like, okay, they fucked up the weed.
Yeah.
But the people on psychedelics and the dudes on coke won't fuck up.
Yeah, because they can see the future.
Yeah. There's pops a couple mushrooms, does a couple lines, and he's like, all right.
Yeah.
I've seen Wolf of Wall Street. It's all they fucking do.
Yeah,
They know how to make money.
And literally the best trip of your entire life. Yeah. I haven't gone on many vacations, but I've been to places. Yeah. Good old days.
Yeah.
Glad it's done, but it's
good
fun
time.
to experiment. Good times.
That's what it was all about.
Yeah.
So,
Hallucinogenics are the best thing that
oh yeah,
what
you
the
down to
universe-
talk about? You down to talk about hallucinogens?
we can talk, but I just recreationally use. I was very lucky in my fucking drug journey / consciousness aided expansion.
Yeah.
That I didn't have, because coke is super addictive. And
Yeah.
mushrooms I don't.
You want to know something funny about weed and coke?
Yeah.
They're in the same one.
Really?
Actually, coke is actually less than weed.
Really?
Because cocaine is addictive medically,
Yeah.
but not dependently.
Dependent. Yeah.
So,
Which is crazy, but I never.
and it actually has less negative long-term medical problems.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, and I know they used it for just about everything. Like Coca-Cola, that's how it got its name.
Yeah.
They used to put Coke in it.
Yeah. The negative effects of coca is actually from the gasoline they make it in, not from the actual plant itself.
Yeah. Well, and there's no such thing as good Coke. Now it's just baby aspirin.
It's all
fucking
yeah.
garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys all miss the fun days. Sorry. Enjoy spending a pile of money on garbage.
But if I don't do drugs, I don't drink alcohol or any of that kind of shit.
Yeah.
But if I was gonna do if you had to make me choose, would I rather do coke or would I rather smoke weed? I would do coke.
Really? Just based on the medical information.
Just based on the medical information, I would just do coke. Plus, it sounds way more fun than sitting on my ass and eating a burrito. I do that already.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Coke's just illegal limitless. It's like Giant Tiger, dollar store limitless.
Yeah.
Grand scale of things. Yeah. Yeah. But
So what? I thought you were gonna. You're gonna talk stories about your hallucinogens?
I've had they're just tripping stories. One time I got super fucking high on mushrooms and a bunch of cocaine. And I drank a pile.
Yeah.
And I had this super crazy surreal experience where I was in this intense futuristic place, and like we had flying cars like you would see, and it looked like Blade Runner but like happier.
Yeah.
But it was super real.
Yeah.
Which was awesome. And then other times like just like walls breathing, floors melting. But like I like that shit, so I was always entertained by the insanity
of it. Yeah.
that would arise. But watching people like have bad trips is awful. It's terrifying for everybody involved.
Yeah.
I think the medical use for psilocybin is psilocybin? Yeah. I think is meritable. I've never looked into like coke as medicine, but I mean it does a lot of crazy shit to your body.
Dude, they do use coke as medicine. It's an emergency one, right?
Yeah.
If you're on the verge of dying, they have these things that will fucking like pump you up full of like meth and coke to keep you alive.
Really?
Yeah.
That would suck.
It's just a way to keep you alive if
Just
you're
to
dying.
keep you alive. Yeah.
It's
Well,
used in the military mainly,
yeah.
but yeah, they do use it. In terms of mushrooms, I know that in the 80s and the 70s,
Yeah.
the U.S. government was doing all sorts of shit with the mushrooms
Yeah.
for like medical reasons. They tried to use it to hypnotize people. Didn't really fucking work. Or not hypnotize, but brainwash people. Didn't really work because they were just like stoned.
Yeah. So me and my buddies would like steal caps, and we were eating massive fucking caps. It was just flying. Yeah. We'd steal them from our buddy's dad and just fucking pound a bunch of mushrooms and then go for a bike ride and then hope for the best. I don't recommend using any of those things, but like it was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But like again, I was a very special and like blessed case where like nothing super bad physically ever happened to me. Like they came up in my life and derailed a lot of shit. So like for those reasons, stay far away from them.
Don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs.
Trust
If
me,
you
there's
wanna, like-
there's a lot of shit that you can do that is perfectly legal
Yeah.
that will like fuck your shit up.
Well, I mean, like again, like you got to think about the reasons like people turn to drugs, right? Like for an escape or like
Yeah.
you're chasing a high because like
Yeah.
your life is not where you want it to be.
Yeah.
But there are so many better ways of like getting to where you want to go. You won't get to see dinosaurs eat your buddy, which is like depending on who you are, might sound like a bummer.
Yeah.
But like your life will be infinitely better if you can find ways of like working through whatever you got going on that are positive and not drug related.
Yeah.
But again, like to that same effect, like microdosing as like a therapy by like a professional or using other types of plant medicines,
Yeah.
again, with dosage and moderation and like using it as a medical treatment as opposed to a recreational or casual drug, very different things.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? So like when it comes to the medical use of it, it's calculated in a way that it won't burn your fucking receptors of
Yeah.
the euphoricness and the happiness, right?
Yeah.
And it will fix your depression.
Yeah. Well, and there's lots of other like if you guys haven't jumped down the rabbit hole for things that mushrooms can do for your brain and like a medical level, it's worth a read because some of
Yeah.
the stories are just insane.
Yeah.
You couldn't make it up.
Mushrooms in a general sense. I don't even necessarily mean the drug, but
Yeah.
like just mushrooms across the board. Really weird shit. Fantastic stuff. You can use it to do all sorts of shit.
Yeah.
I would never do mushrooms as a drug because like there's a thing that can happen when you do mushrooms that if you eat it and sometimes the spore will make it into your brain.
Yeah.
A mushroom will start growing in your brain and eat your fucking brain.
Yeah.
I just right there.
And I
I'm
know
just like,
people are like associating this with Last of Us.
it's not about
It's
the,
not,
it's
but
not.
yeah,
It's-
like-
yeah, that can happen.
Yeah. And you just have like a giant fucking Mario mushroom head.
Yeah, you just get like seizures and shit.
Yeah.
I'm not touching fucking mushrooms. I don't trust mushrooms at all. Did you see that mushroom specialist on Joe Rogan who was like, I can't talk about what button mushrooms and what's that mushroom that people make like burgers out of? Portobello.
Yeah.
Button mushrooms and portobello mushrooms. I can't talk about what the government does with them because like it will threaten my life.
No way.
Yeah, I should send you the clip. It's
That's terrible.
It's fucking trippy. It's just like,
That's
what?
crazy.
What do you mean you can't talk about it? What the fuck are they doing
Yeah,
with
what
that
are they
shit?
doing?
I sort of like looked into it. Apparently,
Yeah.
mush-
Fuck that guy. We'll talk about whatever we
yeah,
want.
I'll look into it. I don't give a shit. Come on.
Yeah.
Bring it. I don't want to live anyway.
Yeah.
Wait,
Give me. I'm gonna start smoking.
Start smoking. See, do mushrooms. Fuck it.
Yeah.
This has been 3 Dead Babies. We hope you guys enjoyed yourselves. We know we did, and that's all that matters.
Don't forget to leave comments, like the video, and please subscribe. It helps us an amazing amount.
Yeah.
Again, I'm Vampire Jesus. This
I'm
is
your
co-host.
fabulous co-host, and we would love to keep, talking shit about everybody's problems. So in that comment section, light it up with whatever's fucking burning your ass, pissing you off, making you crazy, and we'd love to dig into it and have a conversation about it. Until next time, we'll see you later.